One these days, Dawon is the strongest and most popular guy in school, with every single girl wanting to go out with him, but things certainly did not start out that way. In fact, it was the total opposite, and he was just a weak, powerless kid. Everyone treated him like classroom trash, calling him a pathetic gamer nerd while they forced him to play on their phones and level up their gaming characters. The girl he had a massive crush on sat right next to him, but he never had the guts to say a word to her until the day she actually approached him on her own. He almost had a total heart attack, but she only wanted some gaming tips. When she walked away, she turned back and said his name. He stood there frozen, looking like a complete idiot. At that exact moment, his character died on screen, costing him the class bully's rare sword. Meet Kal Woo Min, white hair, pure psycho face. He slammed Dawon's head into the desk and gave him 1 week to find a rarer weapon, or else he would humiliate him in front of the entire class, especially her. Dawon played nonstop, skipping sleep and food for energy drinks. 40 hours, 100 hours, 144 hours in that same chair. He finally got the sword on it. Last day, standing up to get some rest, he suddenly collapsed onto his bedroom floor. His body simply gave out, dead. He passed away thinking he was the ultimate loser in history, dying as a bullied gaming slave while leaving absolutely nothing behind. But then he opened his eyes, back in the exact same classroom. Same phones on the desks, except a holographic system window floated right in front of him, stating his entire lifelong gaming history was converting into real power. But get this, Kal Woo Min showed up, grabbing him by the tie-in, throwing punches like always. The bully only planned to stop once his frustration finally cleared, but this time RN came back to check on Dawon and saw the brutal assault. She bravely stepped in, holding Kal Woo Min back, refusing to let him continue. Then the absolute jerk did the unthinkable, grabbing RN by her hair while shouting that he did not care if she was a girl. When Dawon witnessed that, something deep inside his mind snapped. He was finished being the same terrified kid who refused to stand up for others. That coward was officially gone, but as the completely unhinged Kal Woo Min raises his hand to strike RN, ordering her to shut up, silence, then everything in Dawon erupts. He clenches his fist, ready to punch the bully and deal with whatever consequences follow, consumed by pure rage. At the glaring injustice, he knows he must act, throwing a punch right into Kal Woo's face. Kal Woo catches the hand instantly, his features twisted in fury as he prepares to strike back. Dawon immediately worries his desperate effort was completely pointless, bracing for another beating. But before that can happen, a strange game interface begins tallying up all his past experience as a player. In a flash, Dawon maxes out his level and is promoted through multiple classes, rising from the rare promising gamer servant to the heroic honored gamer servant, and finally unlocking the legendary tier. Next, he gains a specific skill from this legendary superior gamer servant class. This new crushing blow ability allows him to unleash a furious storm of hundreds of rapid-fire blows. The bully is left absolutely wrecked, his swollen face spitting out blood that looks like pure tomato sauce. RN watches in total shock, covering her mouth, completely stunned by Dawon's that sudden display of power. Dawon Ha immediately notices the ability is identical to one his character used in a virtual game. A message from an administrator appears, explaining this is a reward for a favor Dawon Ha once did for him. He quickly connects the dots and realizes the message must be from June the patient, and that favor was when Dawon Ha handed over God-tier item in the game. Right after that realization, another notification appears declaring he has defeated the monster Kal Woo. He receives 200 experience points, pushing his total to an indescribable number. Since our gamer servant hero had already reached the maximum experience level, he is promoted to the final class, Secret Gamer Servant. Back in reality, Dawon Ha is shocked by his own absurd and terrifying strength. He had always wanted to live life like a game, and now that wish is suddenly reality. As his stats begin to max out, he can only wonder what is happening. He recalls that ever since returning from death, he can use abilities. Just like in the virtual games he played, RN Ju is still stunned by the sudden attack that took down Kal Woo and asks Dawon Ha where he learned such techniques. Then she points out the injuries and wounds on his head. As she turns to find the school nurse, Dawon Ha wonders if he really hit his head. Memories of his death and his return to the past begin to flash. through his mind while game system windows start appearing before his very eyes. On top of everything else, the fact that his new skill works exactly like one from a game feels incredibly strange. He remembers his lifelong obsession with games, and trust me, his gamer senses are absolutely tingling. This whole thing feels like a book he read as a kid, a classic setup. In fantasy stories, only this feels much more developed. In those kinds of stories, the protagonists always defeat every monster they encounter and receive buffs with no exceptions. Not only that, but Dawon is also shocked by his flawless maxed out attributes. Another window appears indicating there are still more bonuses to receive for being a gamer servant. To his dismay, he sees that all his attributes and stats have been sealed and reset to 0. He can't believe that after reaching the final class, he's become a weakling again and feels it's completely unfair. He then remembers he completed an event mission after unleashing his rage and defeating the monster, meaning he will now get a reward. He realizes this was the same event mission he accepted the moment he died that day. Suddenly, the golden key listed as the reward in the mission window materializes right before him. After he completes the mission, the system officially notifies him that he has received the golden key prize. Meanwhile, in the classroom, other students are whispering about Dawon's heavily bruised face. They whisper that it was Kalwoong's doing, mentioning they saw him looking completely furious as he went home the previous day. They guess that Kalwoong couldn't control his anger during the fight, even yelling at the nurse. Still, they don't know who beat Kalwoong so badly since everyone was out on lunch break at the time. Since no one saw it firsthand, they just spread rumors, wishing someone had filmed it to post online. Dawon ignores the noise and examines the golden key, though it looks entirely ordinary. But the item description says otherwise, calling it a legendary artifact. This legendary item supposedly unlocks a highly specific location when used, but he remains highly skeptical. He cannot believe a legendary tool looks and functions just like a normal key. Slipping it into his pocket, he puts it aside. His focus has already shifted. He is now completely focused on uncovering the mysterious identity of the administrator. The entity's strange manner of speaking instantly reminded him of a certain player. That mysterious high-level player from his game has to be connected to this. Calling himself the one who brings the end, and Your Highness seals the suspicion. It makes Dawon wonder if they are really the same. He needs to get home. He needs answers. Right then, a new quest screen flashes. The system panel states an invitation is coming, and he must accept it. He has no idea what kind of invitation is coming tonight, or how. As he ponders this puzzle, a sudden figure rushes past and rams into him. The collision sends him crashing hard to the floor. Once the shock fades, pain sets in. He rubs his sore shoulder, wondering who ran him over. The other kid quickly apologizes. He bows frantically, stammering that he simply was not looking where he was going. Dawon sighs and tells him it is fine, asking if the kid is hurt too. Suddenly, blood starts gushing from the boy's nose. Dawon offers him a tissue right away. But the kid panics and refuses, even as Dawon keeps offering to help clean it. The boy finally takes it, and Dawon warns him to watch where he walks. Dawon cannot believe a simple hallway bump caused such a massive nosebleed. He stares at the trembling student, noting how incredibly frail and anxious the guy looks. Just as our main character heads into the restroom, a familiar voice calls out. It is Shin Yeeman, casually holding a vape and demanding a quick chat with him. Dawon greets him calmly and asks if he finally started playing the mobile game. Yeeman sneers, saying he does not play, but he saw the whole fight with Kalwoong. Hearing this, Dawon freezes as memories of his tragic past life come rushing back. Back then, Yeeman just stood at the door, watching him get brutally threatened. He wonders what this bully wants now. Is this the start of some cheap revenge? Yeeman mockingly asks if he is a servant with secret powers hiding in disguise. Remembering how much he hated being powerless back then, Dawon prepares for a fight. He is determined to never let that happen again, but suddenly, Yeeman lunges forward. He yanks Dawon's tie, calling him amusing, before offering a highly unexpected invitation. He wants Dawon to go drinking with girls from a nearby school tonight. Dawon is completely stunned, and wait, this matches that bizarre system mission perfectly. The problem is, accepting this invitation means he will have to face Kalwoong. Playing completely dumb, Dawon asks if he is serious, trying to gauge the trap. Yeeman rudely snaps that he is serious. Dawon cannot figure out his true motive. This sudden invitation is incredibly suspicious, but a quest is still a quest. Completing system missions always yields rewards, and rewards are how he grows stronger. Initially, he thinks this is a perfect opportunity to farm some easy experience. But he quickly reconsiders. Walking straight into a nest of bullies is dangerous. Willingly hanging out with violent thugs is a terrible idea. He needs a lie. He quickly fabricates a story about a grandfather's memorial service to escape the trap. Dawon passes up the chance to escape his loser status. Avoiding trouble just feels easier. A sudden system warning about extreme danger only solidifies his choice to stay away. Bad vibes are everywhere. Thankfully, Yeeman buys his poor excuse without asking questions. The bully promises to save him a seat next time, prompting a fake nod from Dawon. Their awkward chat finally ends, and the intimidating senior finally walks out. Safe at last, Dawon hunches over to catch his breath in the empty room. He knows it, absolutely nothing good ever comes from trying to fit in with them. Suddenly, a cold system window flashes directly in front of his face. Penalty time. Refusing the quest triggers a punishment. The threat of impending pain terrifies him completely. Fear grips him, then his entire body begins to violently spasm. A bizarre vision flashes of massive, raging bulls snorting in a green valley. Ouch, talk about a painful penalty. They charge forward, striking him right in his groin. Back in reality, other students walk into the restroom and freeze in shock. He lies collapsed on the floor, wetting himself from the unbearable agony. They immediately assume the notorious bully Kalwoon must have beaten him to a pulp. Flat on the cold tiles, Dawon experiences the most blinding agony of his life. A heartless notification says this torment will last another 59 long minutes. Crying helplessly, he watches the screen ask if he still wants to refuse. He lets out a blood-curdling shriek that echoes loudly through the school walls. The intense agony persists. Later that night, Yeeman walks through the bustling city. He spots Dawon waiting anxiously at their designated meeting spot under the neon lights. Yeeman seems genuinely thrilled, loudly pointing out that Dawon showed up early. Clearly, he accepted the mission, completely unable to survive an entire hour of torture. When questioned about his excuse, Dawon lies, claiming his grandfather suddenly got busy. He feels like he is losing his mind just by standing here tonight. Absolute panic sets in. Yeeman loudly announces they are going to party hard. But the bully finds his rigid expression suspicious, as if he is hiding something. And he is. Dawon desperately wishes he had just run away. Can you blame him? Dawon quickly grabs his phone to pull off a desperate trick. He pretends his grandfather is calling, hoping to make a fast, easy exit. But his plan instantly fails when the girls Yeeman invited finally show up. They chatter loudly, mostly talking about other guys, except for one stunning girl. Her incredible beauty immediately catches his attention, leaving him totally spellbound. Captivated by her gorgeous looks, he decides to join them inside the bar. Naturally, he convinces himself he only stayed because he was politely invited. Watching his classmates knock back heavy drinks, Dawon wonders how they do it. Yeeman smugly explains that a close buddy works here, scoring them free drinks. It is the ultimate perk for their rowdy crew. Grinning, Yeeman turns to Dawon and asks about his tolerance. Dawon replies that he never gets drunk, sparking a laugh from the bully. Yeeman jokes that he must be a secret alcoholic, unaware he has never drank. He tells Dawon not to worry about money, promising to cover the bill. Shocked by this unexpected generosity, Dawon starts to think the bully is decent. Maybe Yeeman is actually okay. While they wait for the payment, things kick off. One of the girls grabs the mic for karaoke, leaving Dawon completely stunned. Things take a sudden turn, but Yeeman actually looks pleased when a boy named Yu Jihan arrives. It turns out Jihan is his wealthy servant, here just to pay. Bill mentioning he already paid another one 2 hours ago. At that moment, Dawon remembers bumping into Jihan earlier. He connects the dots. He is that wealthy servant, Yeeman scoffs, questioning if the boy really thinks they are leaving so soon. Then with an insane glare, Yeeman starts screaming. Shocked and frozen, Dawon watches this terrifying personality shift. Yeeman then asks if Dawon and Jihan know each other from school. But Dawon says no, seeing that his servant is totally frozen. Yeeman tells him to grab a drink, but as he pours, he somehow spills the alcohol right all over Jihan's pants. Pretending it was an accident, Yeeman apologizes and says Jihan should have worn darker clothes. As the clear target of bullying, Jihan just agrees. That he should have worn something darker. Thinking back, Dawon recalls seeing ketchup on Jaehan's nose earlier. He also remembers the bathroom Jaehan came out of was the exact same one Yimin was just in. With dawning horror, Dawon realizes Yimin must have beaten Jaehan up. He deeply regrets getting involved with this dangerous delinquent. The pretty girl sitting nearby now wonders what is wrong with Dawon, noticing his incredibly troubled face. The other girls invite Yimin to sing, but he refuses, choosing to get drunk instead. He jokes about singing them serenades, but they laugh and say it would ruin the atmosphere. Instead, Yimin maliciously suggests they watch Jaehan dance. While singing, Dawon grows highly irritated by this public humiliation. Forced on Jaehan, one of the girls actually tries to stop Yimin from making his servant do this, but he completely ignores her. Yimin pressures Jaehan, threateningly asking if it is really true that he loves to dance. Jaehan can barely answer, looking sadly at Yimin, who places a heavy hand on his shoulder and tells the wealthy servant that he is embarrassing him in front of these girls. Immediately, Jaehan stands up to dance, and the rest of the room gets excited. Feeling sorry for him, Dawon wonders if this servant has any real pride left, but then realizes he would do the exact same thing if it meant survival. Unable to watch this painful humiliation, Dawon slips away. Honestly, who could blame him? The only reason Yimin doesn't target him is because he's believed to be a powerful fighter with hidden strength. In reality, his status is sealed, and he has absolutely no abilities. He is positive it is only a matter of time before he gets caught. And when that happens, he's totally screwed. Dawon quietly reflects that if it weren't for the harsh system penalty, he would have abandoned this mission already. Weighing his options, he concludes that since he actually showed up at the bar, he has officially cleared the requirements. He must leave before getting dragged into deeper trouble. Though he feels terrible for Jaehan, Dawon knows he has to escape. He lacks the power to save anyone, not even himself. Right now, he and Jaehan are in the exact same situation. After Dawon takes far too long to return, so Yimin notices and demands to know where he is. When Dawon finally returns, he confronts Yimin, asking about Jaehan's shin. Yimin claims he felt bad about spilling on his pants, so he's having them washed. Despite feeling terrified of Shin Yimin's cold expression, Dawon decides to confront him. Acting like a powerful servant with secret abilities, he boldly commands the bully. He demands his pants, hoping authoritative pressure leaves Yimin with no other choice. Right at that exact moment, a muscular and heavily tattooed man walks into the bar. The newcomer mutters that it took him a while to wrap up some business. Clutching a bottle of tomato sauce, he asks about the new kid as Yimin nudges Dawon to greet him. Shin Yimin mentions he is his friend's older brother, leaving Dawon in complete shock. Dawon is completely stunned by the size of this high schooler, who looks like a real gangster. Red splatters on the giant's face terrify Dawon, before Shin Yimin suddenly speaks up. Yimin asks Dawon what he wanted to say earlier, leaving the cornered protagonist utterly clueless. Honestly, anyone would feel completely trapped in this suffocating situation. To escape the heavy tension, Dawon quickly asks the bully for the karaoke microphone. Feeling safe for the moment, he realizes he can't keep hiding his powers forever. Especially since he was almost eliminated. Suddenly, a bright system notification pops up. The dangerous invitation quest is finally completed, and a chain mission immediately begins. A virtual window appears, ordering him to strike Shin Yimin with the microphone. If he completes this crazy task within 30 minutes, he will earn a rare copper key, but our terrified protagonist refuses to act. Paralyzed by fear, a new screen warns that if he fails the quest, he will face a brutal penalty. The moment he reads that terrifying word, Dawon immediately remembers the agonizing bull torture and shivers with pure dread. Meanwhile, Shin Yimin jokes that his buddy Yuk Man-chun looks like a killer. Girls nearby whisper among themselves, terrified of his menacing expression. Yuk Man-chun claims the red stains are blood from people he beat up on his way here. The 18-year-old brute is literally sitting on top of poor Dawon like a chair. He complains about Dawon's constant trembling, threatening him to stay completely still. He warns him not to drop him, making Shin Yimin laugh hysterically at this. For Dawon, this humiliation feels way worse than hitting Yimin with a bottle. The muscular brute suddenly turns around and asks in a highly threatening tone what is so funny, reminding them all that Dawon beat up Cha Woo-min. While Yimin admits Dawon is strong, Yuk Man-chun completely disagrees. He sees absolutely zero potential or strength in him, leaving Dawon feeling totally cornered. He worries they will eliminate him if he succeeds, but also fears the alternative. He dreads being eliminated by the system's penalty, if only he could use his skills. If he had that power from before, he would easily find the courage to fight. But looking at his skill tree, his crushing blow ability is locked and completely inactive. Can you blame him? He feels completely doomed and starts to panic. As his panic rises, the quest window shows only 15 minutes remaining. Right then, Shin Yi-min decides to ask Dawon a curious question. He wants to know why Dawon lets bullies treat him like absolute garbage, especially when he clearly has the strength to crush them, unsure how to explain. Dawon simply answers that he got his strength from a game, which Yi-min laughs off. Yi-min tells him he doesn't need to explain, assuming he has his own reasons. He reveals he called Dawon there for a very specific, dangerous purpose. He expects some huge threat to stay away from Shin Yaman's friends, but instead an excited Shin Yaman invites him to join his crew, saying they should stick. Together, our main guy completely misinterprets this and wonders if Shin Yaman is actually into guys. The bully quickly explains he just needs Dawon's strength. To help him conquer the Gwanek district, Dawon is utterly baffled, unable to understand why a thug like Shin Yaman wants his help to rule an entire neighborhood. To seal the deal, Shin Yaman lists the perks like free drinks and cigarettes. He promises Dawon cold cash, real estate, and endless attention from gorgeous women. Throwing a heavy arm over his shoulder, Shin Yaman guarantees that Dawon can have whatever he wants, but Dawon has absolutely zero interest in accepting this offer for such cheap, shallow rewards. He flatly tells him he wants nothing. He simply refuses to join forces with a bunch of lowlife delinquents. Hearing this, Shin Yaman asks if he genuinely wants to stay a mere gamer servant for the rest of his days. The bully pushes harder, asking if Dawon wants payback against the punks who constantly tormented him. Pointing out that he finally has the power to crush them, Dawon pauses, considering the idea of dominating his bullies and totally flipping the script on them. He realizes that partnering with Shin Yaman means he will never be treated like dirt again. Walking off to the restroom, Shin Yaman tells Dawon to think over the proposal while he is gone. Left alone with his thoughts, Dawon starts believing some higher power actually gave him this insane gift, giving him a golden opportunity to rewrite his entire life. He can start over, living a second life with the cool kids and finally escape his loser past. Deep in his wild fantasies, Dawon jumps when Gihan snaps him back to reality. The classmate asks if the shiny golden key on the floor is his. Dawon gasps, realizing with a sudden jolt that he carelessly dropped his precious quest reward. After Dawon quickly thanks him, Gihan offers some unexpectedly serious advice, warning him to stay far away from Shin Yaman, but honestly, who could blame him for refusing to miss this shot too? Climbing out of the gutter, Gihan sighs and apologizes, explaining he only spoke up because Dawon actually seems like a decent guy. Right then, a glowing system notification flashes, warning him that only 3 minutes remain to attack Shin Yaman. Sweating bullets, Dawon realizes how fast time slipped by, dreading the brutal punishment for failing the quest. He scrambles to his feet, telling himself that if he can just survive this single hour, everything will change. Even so, not wanting to make a humiliating scene in front of the girls, he sneaks out of the room. To hide, suddenly, an old story about elephants on a grassy hill flashes through his mind. Legend says that when these majestic beasts sense their own impending death, they leave the herd to face their dark fate completely alone. Dawon feels exactly like them as he isolates himself in an empty, distant room, stuffing a cloth into his mouth. He braces for the absolute agony about to rip through his body. System screen updates, warning him that only 30 seconds remain. Dawon decides he would rather suffer the failure than ever cross Shin Yaman. With only 20 seconds left, he accepts this pain as his price for escaping his life as a gamer servant. Gritting his teeth, he prepares for the pure, oncoming agony that is about to strike him. Meanwhile, back in the noisy karaoke room, the drunken bully Yuk was put on the spot to sing, but the girls mocked his old, overly dramatic song choices. They thought it was outdated, but then they realized the microphone had completely vanished. It was gone from the table. Meanwhile, Shin Jamin walked back from the restroom, clutching his aching stomach and blaming some bad school food. While he was totally distracted, Dawon silently crept up right behind him with a glass bottle. With a sudden, vicious swing, Dawon shattered the glass right over the bully's head. The devastating surprise strike was too much, and Shin Jamin instantly collapsed onto the floor. Just like that, the system's justice quest was cleared. Dawon reached a solid decision. He would rather live as a weak loser than become a cruel predator like them. Amazed that he actually flattened Shin Jamin in one single hit, he decided to drag the body somewhere hidden, but right before he made his move, he hesitated, anxious about leaving Jihan alone with that terrifying, heavily tattooed brute. As he prepared to leave, he glanced down and spotted Shin Jamin's phone lying right there on the dusty ground. He snatched it up, plotting a clever bonus play while the bully lay unconscious on the floor. Meanwhile, Yuk was in the bathroom, drunkenly belting out songs. In the middle of this passionate performance, his focus was suddenly stolen by a new text. It came from Shin Jamin's phone, calling him a pig and mocking his terrible voice. Reading those words, the tattooed gangster flew into a wild rage. In the text, Dawon had challenged him to stay put, but as Dawon prepares his escape, watch closely, a towering shadow looms right behind him. He slowly looks up, staring straight at the massive, heavily tattooed giant, Yuk. Glaring down with pure hatred, Dawon stands completely frozen. How on earth did this absolute monster track him down? Suddenly, a familiar glowing quest screen popped up, warning him that Yuk was completely triggered by the text and would attack immediately. The screen vanishes and the brute strikes, kicks Dawon hard in the back, sending him sprawling. The sheer force of impact sends him crashing down, his head slamming violently against the concrete. Yuk slowly kneels right over Dawon, sneering that those insult texts make absolutely no sense. Jamin would never send texts like that while wasted. Right after saying this, the giant grabs Dawon by his shirt and unleashes a brutal punch straight to his face, punching him again. The brute claims Jamin actually respected him like a friend. He grips Dawon's head and delivers a savage, stinging slap, calling it disgusting to betray someone who threw him a lifeline like that. Before Dawon can even mutter a word, another violent blow strikes his cheek, labeling him worthless trash and asking why Jamin ever let him hang out with them. The brute demands to know exactly why Shin Jamin is lying unconscious nearby, but as he stares, his eyes narrow, muttering that he already knows exactly what went down. Reaching deep into Dawon's pocket, Yuk pulls out the bent, broken microphone and calls him a coward. Dawon retorts that the real cowards are people like Yuk, parasites who terrorize the weak, but before he can finish, the giant throws him effortlessly. Dawon crashes hard against a heavy wall of stacked flour bags. Yuk sneers that it is not his fault Jihan is weak, declaring Dawon their next servant, lying totally motionless on the flour sacks. The battered young hero is in excruciating pain. Suddenly he spots a mysterious golden key resting inches from his hand. Grabbing it, he wonders where he had to use it. An admin tip appeared, explaining that the golden key belonged in a lock, but Dawon was completely lost because he had not seen a single lock nearby. Then his skill window suddenly flashed open, revealing a new hidden technique. Right there, the outline of a keyhole appeared inside the digital interface, and he quickly slid the golden key right in, turning the key to unlock the power. A brilliant light flared right in front of him. Meanwhile, the massive thug checked on Shin Jamin, asking if he was still breathing. Shin groaned that he was half dead, making Yuk Manchu laugh at him for losing to a complete weakling. At that very moment, Dawon dragged himself back up, declaring that avoiding this fight would make him a total coward. Yuk Manchu laughed, finding this sudden burst of pride quite amusing. To be fair, Dawon was actually just bluffing because the system ordered a severe penalty if he ran. Yuk got fired up by this apparent courage and charged straight ahead, but just as the giant closed the distance, Dawon was suddenly wrapped in a weird, pulsing energy. He wondered why on earth the system kept handing him these crazy abilities and dragging him into one dangerous brawl after another. Then it hit him, they just wanted to watch a show. With that sudden realization, he threw a massive punch at Yuk Manchu. A brilliant blue light flared all around him as Dawon screamed that the big guy was going down. Suddenly his mind flashed back to his childhood, remembering a scrawny kid who was an absolute legend at the arcade. That kid, known as Master Zebrano, had a bizarre play style that blew everyone away. Whenever Master Zebrano won a match, the entire room would go wild. The kid owed his insane skills to his absolute obsession with retro fighting games. A 10-year-old Dawon watched in pure awe, completely mesmerized by the master. That boy's signature move was a devastating Dropkick that made him completely unbeatable, this legendary skill called Hawks. Descent delivers a brutal overhead kick that knocks enemies cold, costing 120 mana. Now that Dawon has finally unlocked this killer high kick, he knows it is going to be a total lifesaver, despite the huge size gap and the sheer force of Yuk Manchu's fist. Dawon believes he can end this with one perfect strike against his massive opponent, and of course, a warning screen suddenly flashes. Screaming that he is completely out of mana, Dawon freezes in absolute horror as Yuk Manchu's fist comes barreling straight at his face. With zero options left, he takes the brutal impact dead on the chin. The hit sends him sailing through the air, crashing hard onto the pavement behind Yuk Manchu. The giant laughs, wondering what happened to the mouthy nerd who was screaming like he actually had some secret trick. Face down and groaning in pure agony, Dawon gets absolutely furious with this garbage system. Seriously, his maximum pool is only 100 mana, but Hawks Descent requires 120. The math makes zero sense. He wonders if that golden key was just some weird reward for getting thrashed by Cho Min. Mulling over his limited inventory, a sudden memory sparks. He recalls the reward for that crazy quest where he smacked Shin Jaemin with a microphone was a bronze key. Scanning the dirty floor, he wonders where on earth that item ended up since it is nowhere to be seen. Dawon remembers the bronze key dropped right under his system screen. Since that quest went down inside the bathroom, he figures it must still be lying on the floor there. Left with no other options, he decides to risk it and search, but before he can reach the door, Yuk grabs him. The brute punches our hero hard in the ribs, asking where he thinks he is going. Looking closely at Dawon, Yuk gets the feeling this kid is not such a weakling after all. Dawon collapses heavily onto the cold floor as Yuk sneers and mocks him like a rat. Pushed way past his physical limit, he can barely even stand back up after that blow. Escape is his only survival option. He needs to retreat and locate that hidden key. Still completely unsure of his next move, a massive hand blocks his path entirely. Just as Dawon tries to run, the giant slams a hand over his face, stopping him instantly. Yuk knocks him down again, telling him he needs to stop getting back up. Instead of giving up, Dawon starts laughing, which only provokes the beast. A heavy foot stomps down on his head as Yuk asks if he has lost his mind. Our hero smirked. Did Yuk really think he caused all this chaos without a plan? The brute claims Dawon is just bluffing to save his own skin. But Dawon insists he was just buying time, as an elevator door slides open behind Yuk. Dawon screams for whoever is inside to take down the bully. Startled and momentarily afraid, Yuk spins around to face the threat, only to find a completely empty elevator, leaving him frozen in utter disbelief. This confusion quickly turns to absolute rage toward Dawon. He spins. He whirls around ready to finish him, but Dawon is already gone. Meanwhile, Dawon sprints through the dim corridors with everything he has left. He cannot believe that stupid trick actually worked on that meathead. Now that he has managed to escape, he frantically searches for the bronze key. Suddenly, his knees buckle, and he crashes to the floor from exhaustion. Gritting his teeth, he slowly forces himself back up. Dragging his heavy legs, he keeps moving, but at the end of the hallway, Yuk's massive silhouette appears, cracking his knuckles with a wild grin. The tattooed gangster tells him to stand still. Our hero thinks this is the end. He has no strength left to run or escape. Talk about perfect timing, he looks to the side and spots it. He grabs the bronze key, and a system description pops up instantly. It unlocks sealed attributes. Why did the game wait so long? Frustrated, he opens his character screen and spots a keyhole slot right in the center. Right then, the towering brute begins charging at him with blind rage. Moves fast just before those massive fists reach him. Dawon jams the key into the slot, praying for the system to hurry up. Adrenaline spikes. A prompt appears offering to permanently boost a stat. He desperately needs mana for his skills, no time to second guess. Without hesitation, he tells the system to increase his mana points. Just as a devastating punch is about to land, something amazing happens. His mana limit unlocks, surging by 100 points. In the nick of time, he slides past Yuk's heavy swing. Planting his foot firmly on Yuk's thigh, he preps his signature move. He leaps high into the air, lightning crackling around his leg. The secret class skill is active. An electric aerial kick smashes down. A direct hit right to the giant's skull, shattering his defense. Blood gushes from his nose as his eyes roll back from the hit to his massive skull. Right then, a system notification pops up for Dawon, confirming his victory. He had defeated the monstrous Yuk Manchan. The Titan falls to his knees. The giant collapses unconscious, and our hero lands cleanly on his feet. His reward for winning this tough battle is the missing silver key. Exhausted and running on empty, Dawon reaches out to grab the key. As reality sinks in, the gamer servant can hardly believe he actually won. Just as he thinks he can leave, Shin Yamin wakes up. He is furious. Stepping into the hallway, the furious delinquent demands to know what happened. Dawon stands there completely shocked, stammering as he sees Shin standing back up. But before he can even think, another massive figure steps into the hall. A giant from the karaoke bar demands to know why his brother is down. This is Yuk Manak, a 19-year-old employee and the giant's older brother. He instantly glares at Dawon with pure rage, making his blood run cold. Dawon suddenly recalls Shin, mentioning that Yuk Manchan had a terrifying older brother. Staring up at this muscular mountain, Dawon freezes. This is his end. To make matters worse, other delinquents arrive to investigate the loud crashing noise. These tattooed punks immediately spot the unconscious brute, Yuk Manchan, on the floor. Once again, Dawon remembers Shin boasting about drinking at this exact bar with friends. Checking his stats, he only has 80 mana points and 12 health left. He does not even have the energy to run, let alone activate skills. Weak and trapped, he realizes it. He is completely done for. Dozens of Shin Yamin's dangerous delinquent friends are now surrounding him. Meanwhile, Yujihan walks the lonely streets, wondering if he should have stayed. He knows that the text message sent from Shin Yamin was a total setup. The bullies had dismissed Yujihan, claiming they had other business to settle. But he knows there is only one guy stupid enough to walk into this trap. Dawon would absolutely dig his own grave here without knowing the real dangers. It is his first time in this place, and he has no clue about the rules. That last message telling everyone to leave seemed like a desperate attempt to protect Yujihan. He can only hope that Dawon survives, safe and sound. Back inside, Shin Yamin demands to know why Dawon started this fight. But looking at the crowded hallway, our protagonist sees absolutely no way out. The thugs block his path, making it clear he is not leaving alive. He is sure his journey ends here, but then a staff member runs in. The panicked worker screams that the police have arrived and everything is ruined. Someone apparently called the cops from the first floor, telling everyone to run. The gang is annoyed since they were eager to beat up the nerd. Throwing his unconscious brother over his shoulder, the giant gives Dawon a deadly look. Yuk Manak mutters that Dawon is incredibly lucky to survive today. Before escaping, Shin Yamin warns Dawon that this is far from over. Just glad to be breathing, Dawon figures he should head for the stairs too. But right as he moves, a sudden, bizarre shock wave courses through his body. Only one day after facing death, he was beaten by Cho Woo-min and Yuk Manchan. On top of that, his body is failing. The skill side effects are hitting hard. Abilities his body could barely handle, the moment all that built up. Stress finally left him. Dawon simply passed out. He slowly woke up to see a girl in front of him, wondering what on earth had happened. He asked her where they were, and she just asked if he was finally awake. Dawon recognized her as one of the 3 toughest girls in school, and she remarked that he should have woken up sooner. When he tried to ask why she was there, she quickly clamped a hand over his mouth to shut him up. Realizing they were in a bathroom, she told him to keep his voice down. She explained that they were hiding in the women's restroom, so he had to keep it down. Whispering, Dawon asked why they were hiding there. She said the police were still at the bar and figured they would never look inside the women's bathroom. When Dawon asked who called the cops, she admitted she was the one who reported the underage drinking. Dawon was confused, pointing out that she had been drinking too, asking if she did it to save him. She explained that she saw him fighting Yukman. She had always figured he was just a complete loser, but apparently he did not care about collateral damage at all. Thinking she was falling for his charm, Dawon asked how he could repay the favor. She initially refused, but after he kept pushing, she asked him to grant her a wish. Leaning in incredibly close to whisper it, Dawon turned red with embarrassment and was left speechless. Talk about an intense moment, but morning came with a sudden call from his mom. The second he picked up, she started screaming and scolding him. Loudly, he asked why she was so mad, explaining he only missed calling her for one single day because he was exhausted, but his mother corrected him, saying it Had actually been 3 whole days since they last spoke, hearing that he was all right. She hung up to get back to work, leaving Dawon completely shocked by the realization that he had slept for 3 whole days. After that chaotic karaoke night, Dawon really had gone straight home to pass out. This was completely fair, considering it was the very first time he had ever fought in his entire life. Beyond that, his exhaustion made sense since he dealt with 3 major bullies in a single day. Even if Shin did not end up fighting him directly, now that some time had passed, Dawon felt like that victory had been a breeze, practically no big deal. He felt incredibly strong and absolutely starving. With his body and mind finally recovered, the first thing he wanted was to log into the game and message that administrator. But get this. When he searched for the mysterious player, the one who brings the end, there were 0 results. Dawon had not expected an easy ride, but he was still shocked to discover the administrator's account had actually been deleted. He figured that mysterious guy did not want to talk with him, especially since he had never responded directly. The admin only ever communicated through the system, so if that was how it was going to be, Dawon decided he would have to learn everything on his own. He already knew 3 key things about how this worked. First, the system was similar to an RPG, complete with levels, stats, and classes, which meant he was basically a game character. Second, the system treated delinquents like monsters, granting him rewards for defeating them. This was exactly like hunting monsters in a game and receiving items in return. The third and final point was that using these keys made him stronger, so he checked his inventory. Examining the silver key revealed a brand new passive ability. Apparently, different keys opened completely different things. Best of all, once unlocked, they never got sealed again. Take his crushing strike skill. It's sealed after 1 use. That was just a temporary class effect. He needed a key. A specific key unlocked it forever. Still, system penalties lingered. Actually, his biggest problem right now was something else entirely. The real threat, Shin Yamin's gang of delinquents, wanted his head. With things this messy, Dawon decided to meditate all spring break. But his brainstorming session got cut short. His doorbell rang. Thinking it was food, he walked over. A system notification popped. The girl wanted to go out with him, accept and satisfy her. Our nerdy, introverted protagonist was absolutely losing his mind. Hoping it was just his takeout, he slowly opened the door. The tough girl from before stood there. Dawon asked her why. She quickly reminded him of his promise to grant her wish. Slipping off her coat, she bluntly told Dawon to strip. Our hero froze, especially when the quest notification showed up. The title read, "Become a Man." Was this actually happening? Before he could process it, she barked at him to hurry. She insisted he strip. The poor guy was completely flustered. Right on cue, a sudden system prompt flashed before him. It asked him to accept or decline. He was speechless. Stammering, he asked her to repeat that. She did, instantly. He couldn't believe she jumped straight to this without talking. Unbuttoning his shirt, Dawon got hyped. His first time was here. But then she casually asked if his other clothes were inside. He blinked in total confusion, soon dying of intense embarrassment. She definitely didn't want anything spicy. She just wanted the heater off. Dawon asked why she didn't turn it off herself and how she found him. She simply replied that she didn't have his phone number. She had actually tracked his address down while dragging him earlier. She spotted his apartment key card inside his phone case. Looking him over, she asked if these nerdy rags were all he had. Dawon mumbled back that his mom bought them, but he still hoped. He really thought today was going to be his big, intimate day. Instead, she announced a shopping trip, the quest title updated. He finally got it, yet he still felt pretty excited. After all, he was shopping with a real girl for the first time. A bit later, standing inside a massive clothing store, Dawon felt lost. He couldn't understand why anyone would wear these outfits. But she shut him down. He couldn't afford to look weak. They were hanging out all day, heading somewhere pretty serious afterward. He felt quite uncomfortable with this intense, wild fashion style. She insisted it was what she wanted, so he obeyed, while he was in the changing room trying on another outfit. She looked through the racks for more options. Dawon eventually stepped out looking totally different, dressed in black pants, a black jacket, and black boots. He felt pretty strange since it was the first time he had ever dressed in a cooler, more stylish way. In his excitement, he temporarily forgot about the mission until he saw the objective. had updated to taking her out to eat. The system made everything feel like a game, and Dawon started to think that asking a girl out was not so hard after. All feeling quite confident, he mentioned he was hungry and invited her to get something to eat, and she agreed. But at that moment, our protagonist felt a surge of frustration and wanted to punch himself. They had been sitting in silence for 30 minutes, and he began to wonder if she did not like the food. When he actually stopped to think, he realized he did not even know her name, so he asked. She replied that her name was Cyan. With that, the conversation died again, and he found himself missing his mom because things always used to be easier with her around. Cyan then asked if there was anything else he was curious about. Admitting he knew nothing about her, Dawon asked what he should even ask. First, she simply replied that he would learn more about her over time. After all she explained, they would be seeing each other much more often. Standing up from the table, she told him to hurry up because they still had things to do. The mission updated once more, and now to become a man, he needed to take the girl to the movies. Dawon felt happy to be experiencing all of this for the first time and then invited her for a coffee. He proceeded to sing a song for Cyan, which made him question the true purpose of the mission. He had always thought the system only made him fight bullies in exchange for rewards. The sixth step of the mission began, leading him to take the girl to an arcade. Thinking it through, he realized this was basically a date and tried his best to impress her. Breathing heavily and sweating, he felt his charm might finally be working on her. While Cyan was looking at some plush toys, a few nerds approached and tried to invite Dawon to a club. As soon as our protagonist saw the plushie machine, he began to walk away, telling Cyan he needed to go to the bathroom before excusing himself. 10 minutes later, the nerd returns with a dozen fish plushies, ready to impress Cyan. He confidently thinks to himself that she is going to fall for him hard, just as he sees her approaching with a smile, but his perfect day is instantly ruined when a man suddenly appears and grabs him by the hair. The bully aggressively asks who Dawon thinks he is to say Cyan's name so lovingly, yanking his hair with enough force to make him cry out in pain. Dawon wonders who this guy is and how he knows Cyan, though he feels a strange sense of familiarity, as if he has seen him somewhere before. Just then, Cyan yells at the man, calling him Sehun Kang, and demands that he let go of Dawon. Everything had been going so well until this moment, and Dawon can only wait for the system to issue a notification that he must defeat this new bully, in a move that shocks everyone. Cyan declares that the shy nerd is her boyfriend. The statement, this shocker, stuns both Dawon and Sehun. Our hero blushes hard as Cyan orders the bully to get lost. She helps Dawon up, telling him to ignore Sehun as they start walking away, but before leaving, Dawon stops to pick up the dropped fish plushies left in the dust. A shocked Sehun still cannot bring himself to believe that Dawon is actually Cyan's boyfriend. Meanwhile, afternoon creeps over the streets. Dawon is totally obsessed with what Cyan declared back at the arcade. He wanders around completely out of it, daydreaming about her bold confession of him being her official boyfriend. The spell breaks when Cyan suddenly calls out they have finally arrived and orders him to stick close. She brings up their big promise to hang out all day. Right then, a sudden system prompt orders him to step inside the building. Once indoors, Tiang quickly hits the elevator button for the 7th floor. Instantly, Dawon gets the wild idea that she wants some private, romantic action. Watching the floor numbers tick up, he nervously stammers, asking to slow things down so he can mentally prepare. Tiang just commands him to stand completely still, making it clear she will run the show. Panicking that this wild detour will ruin his current system mission, Dawon frantically racks his brain to find any excuse to change her mind. Exiting onto the 7th floor, Dawon notices every single door is shut tight and cautiously asks why they came here. Walking deeper down the corridor, he suddenly realizes with cold terror that this is a massive gathering of delinquents. He peers inside a packed room featuring a lone microphone, which only scrambles his brain further. Suddenly, a judge-like figure slams a heavy gavel and demands complete silence, declaring the regular meeting of the Guanacast City Bullies is now officially in session. He announces their first agenda item is to target the Karakuar incident, specifically discussing what to do with Dawon Ha. The crowd of thugs starts whispering, completely doubting this normal-looking kid could actually take down 3 hardened gangsters. Dawon stands frozen in absolute disbelief, overhearing them plan his brutal demise right in front of him. Then a vote is called to target Dawon, and every single lowlife in the room instantly raises their hand. He is utterly horrified by their unanimous decision to hunt him down. Just like that, it is officially declared that Dawon Ha is now marked by all 497 Guanacast gang members. The task wraps up, and a new system message flashes, declaring that real men live for life-threatening thrills. It defines bullies as teenage syndicates involved in serious criminal behavior. These young delinquents follow their basest instincts, love showing off, and embrace a completely reckless life. The secret to their unchecked confidence is simple: they always run in massive packs to keep themselves safe. While leadership styles vary, the syndicates in the rough Guanacast territory rely on brutal adult methods to maintain order. Seeing this, Dawon wonders what is wrong with these mindless thugs who act without thinking. Shaken up, he reviews the system notification, trying to figure out how this insane trial helps him become a true man. There is also a stern warning that his chain quest rewards are locked until the final stage is fully completed. Sensing Kyan is acting incredibly sketchy right now, Dawon flatly asks if she just lured him into a giant trap. Before she can speak, a suited guy, a man holding a hammer, declares the matter closed, while Dawon tries to figure out his identity. Kyan tells him to wait, explaining that they must move on to the next agenda item. The next topic begins, prompting the other bullies to make rude comments toward her. They sneer and ask about the guy standing by her side, standing with his back to them. Dawon is terrified. He could get eliminated right then and there. Then a change. Cyan and the leader announce a second topic. That topic is the vacant seat on the Council of Delinquents. When the suited man vote, Dawon briefly wonders if they are actual politicians. Cyan then confidently declares that she has found the perfect person for the job. The nerd standing right beside her desperately tries to escape while she continues speaking. With the bold confidence of a congresswoman, she nominates Dawon for the position. She crowns him representative of Buro Maidan. Kyan says Dawon's name without hesitation. Kyan shouts it out loud in front of everyone. Our hero is shocked by this risky move. And honestly, this feels like a death sentence. The bullies think it is total madness. Complete madness. They were just talking about how to eliminate him. The group judge asks if promoting someone who recently attacked their own members is too risky. However, Cyan argues that since Dawon defeated 3 of their top guys, all in a single day, he is more than qualified to join their elite group. A thug mocks Unsung after she agrees that defeating members is a qualification. She agrees. Unsung Ha, the 18-year-old representative, remains unbothered. The representative of Silim Dong simply confirms her agreement with Kyan. Terrified, Dawon insists that he has absolutely no intention of joining their gang. Cyan warns him to consider how dangerous his situation really is right now. He is just an 18-year-old boy facing a room full of dangerous criminals. They all voted to eliminate him on sight, but joining the council protects him. If he joins, the other delinquents cannot touch him. Dawon quietly thanks her. But Karen quickly clarifies that she is not doing this out of kindness. She explains that another jerk wants the seat, and she prefers Dawon over him. Just then, the elevator doors slide open, revealing a tense and unexpected visitor. It is the same aggressive man who attacked Dawon during his meeting with Karen. He knows him. That arcade guy, Kang Si-hyun, steps forward. He demands to know why Karen kept the assembly a secret from him. Borami Dong associate realizes she made up the boyfriend lie. She did it just to hide from him. Kang Si-hyun confronts Karen directly. Too far, opposing his representative run was one thing, but this. Without warning, he wraps his hand around Dawon's neck, squeezing. He chokes him, demanding to know what they are doing there. Dawon feels crushed. He cannot breathe, feeling like a heavy boulder is crushing his chest. The judge commands them to stop, reminding everyone that this is a highly formal meeting. He officially announces Dawon as the new leader of Borami Dong. Kang Si-hyun protests immediately, claiming he was supposed to be the chosen representative. Karen fires back verbally. Meanwhile, the other delinquents start whispering. Some dismiss Dawon as a weakling, while others focus on Karen. With 2 rival nominees now in the running, the tension reaches a peak. The judge notes things have reached a new level, staring right at Kang Si-hyun. He finally releases Dawon, declaring they have to settle this right here. As the other bullies start pushing up, Dawon tries explaining that he doesn't care about the representative title, but the second his enemy turns his back, Dawon makes his move. he triggers his special Falcon drop ability. Unleashing a savage kick from midair, the watching bullies are totally stunned. But Kang Si-hoon is famous for being the granite of Boromidang. Armed with insane defensive stats, he blocks the strike with zero effort. Dawon stands there completely frozen, wondering if his own attack is just trash. Surprisingly, Kang Si-hoon actually praises the skill, calling it pretty fast. Still, he finds it strange, noting that even a beast like Yuk Man-chun was knocked out cold by a single hit from this exact attack. Dawon finally gets it. His pathetic mana pool means he is done. Game over. Without those special moves, he stands zero chance. Right then, Kang Si-hoon grabs his neck, lifting the terrified gamer right up. Dawon instantly taps his arm, pleading with him to let go. But it is totally useless. Si-hoon just laughs, warning him that he is only letting him go after he completely blackouts in this hopeless moment. And wait, here is where he finally recognizes this monster's face. He has changed so much that he is basically a different person. His mind flashes back to a brutally hot summer 5 years ago. He was being choked the exact same way by a massive, heavy kid. They were only 13 back then, and that fat bully was Kang Si-hoon. Back then, choking games were a trend, and Si-hoon targeted him daily. He would strangle Dawon even while they ate, forcing him to keep chewing. The torment never stopped, following him right into the school bathrooms. Si-hoon would keep choking him until he literally passed out on the floor. Dawon fainted so many times that he developed a constant fear of blackouts. But what terrified him even more than the physical abuse itself was the absolute nightmare of waking up to a room full of laughter. Si-hoon made sure he was completely humiliated in front of everyone. Especially the girls. That severe trauma left Dawon deeply scarred, making him terrified of girls and turning him into a total shut-in. Back to reality, he hits the ground, completely gasping for air. He wishes monsters like Si-hoon would actually pay for what they did. How did that fat bully get so fit, handsome, and popular? The mere thought of it burns him up. He refuses to lose again. He absolutely hates the thought of losing to his worst childhood nightmare. Around him, the other bullies are already laughing, calling him weak. As Dawon slowly drags himself up, they jeer that he stands no chance. What are his actual chances? Honestly, they look pretty bad. His absolute best card was already neutralized with zero effort by Si-hoon. Caught in that suffocating grip, Dawon feels completely powerless to resist. All he can do is tap out as Si-hoon claims the top spot. Absolute despair, yet right when everything feels totally and completely lost, he somehow pushes himself off the floor, facing his tormentor once again. Kang Si-hoon warned him that continuing this fight would only get him badly hurt. But instead of backing down, Dawon pulled off his jacket and boldly declared that he was going to trash this gangster right as that jacket hit the floor. The whole room went dead silent. Nobody could look away. They watched this skinny gaming nerd start throwing a massive flurry of punches. Too bad they were weak as paper, and Kang Si-hoon blocked every single strike. He did not even break a sweat, but Dawon kept pushing, knowing his real plan. He just needed to survive a bit longer. 7 hours earlier, he remembered searching his pants for a specific item, a special silver key, one after beating Ryuk Mansion in their battle. That key unlocked a massive power-up. He had already activated those passive skills before the fight started. His unique gaming class had finally unlocked a very special passive skill. A critical hit with a measly 1% chance to ignore all defense. It cost 0 mana and could punch right through any block. Talk about high stakes. Dawon knew that 1% was an incredibly cruel gamble. Statistically, that miracle strike would only trigger once in 100 attempts. But in this desperate situation, he had absolutely no other choice. He had to trigger that single critical hit or face complete destruction. So he threw all caution to the wind and just started swinging. He punched nonstop. The bullies in the back began laughing at the pathetic display. Even his senior, Cian, covered his face in pure embarrassment. But Dawon knew the math. If he just kept throwing hands, one would hit. He was already getting dangerously close to his 100th consecutive punch. By hit number 80, his opponent was getting bored and completely distracted. Dawon wondered why the skill had not triggered yet. The bully easily deflected every single blow right up to hit 99. This was it. Dawon threw his 100th punch straight into his chest. A cold sweat broke out on Dawon's face. It had not worked. Kang just stared down at him, asking what he was even trying to do. Dawon could only think of the brutal reality of random number generators. That cruel algorithm that supposedly gives every single gamer a fair shot. But that sweet taste of victory is so much harder to find in reality. It is why gamers risk everything daily, just like Dawon did years ago. He was only 13 when he spent his tuition money on game upgrades. Back then, the random odds failed him, leaving him with absolutely nothing. He knew one more failure meant disaster, but he still pulled the trigger. That kid chose to gamble because high risks bring the ultimate thrill. Now that exact same despair hits him as his final punch lands softly. He was so sure he had thrown 100 punches. Why did it fail? In theory, one of those strikes had to be a defensive ignoring critical hit. But the statistics lied, the plan failed, and he was completely trapped. His rival, Kang Si-hyun, grabs him by the neck and hoists him up. He sneers that a real strike is meant to utterly crush an opponent. Then he brutally demonstrates it, slamming Dawon down face first on the hard floor. Dawon's head crashes into a pile of hard bricks with a sickening crack. That punch combo was nothing but a cheap bluff. He points out that even with a real strategy, it would not have mattered since Kang had shed 130 kilograms, toning every part of his frame. While he boasts that the weakling cannot even scratch him, D1 desperately tries to speak from the cold floor. Bruised and beaten, D1 reveals that back in middle school, Kang Si-ho was just a slow, chubby bully. When Kang does not remember him, D1 says it is typical for bullies to simply forget their victims. He explains that the victims carry that trauma forever, while the bullies just forget it ever even happened. These words make Kang pause and think, but D1 immediately regrets speaking up. He wonders what he is supposed to do now that Kang does not even remember him, yelling at him to back off, growing frantic. D1 starts throwing wild, frantic kicks while screaming for Kang to stay away. Completely ignoring the weak plea, Kang grabs his ankle and hurls him across the room, sending him crashing into a pile of tables and chairs. Glaring down at the broken kid on the floor, Kang asks if Daehyun is still that same pathetic coward from years ago, questioning if Daehyun remembers every single cheap toy he used to play with, appearing genuinely annoyed to see him in such a pathetic state. Suddenly, a sharp-looking man in a suit steps forward, telling the kid to call it quits. This man is Han Un-song, the representative of Seuli Young Dong, and he declares the match an absolute waste of time, saying one side has already lost the resolve to keep fighting. Daehyun feels a wave of guilt for relying on a mere 1% chance of winning. He is fully aware he stands zero chance against this massive brute, but giving up means the other ruthless delinquents will instantly pounce on him. He is totally stuck as Han Un-song coldly announces that the match is already finished. Even so, Daehyun slams his palm against the hard floor and screams out that things are not over yet. Forcing his broken body up, he fiercely declares he will not quit. His opponent finds this stubbornness incredibly irritating, asking if he ever gets tired of taking a beating. Seo-hun cannot believe that even with absolutely zero chance of winning, Daehyun still refuses to back down. Broken and desperate, our protagonist starts moving quickly toward the exit, hoping to keep Kang distracted just long enough to slip away, terrified of what the brute might do. He was already dreaming of escaping to some deserted island far, far away. Daehyun made up a weak excuse, knowing full well he had to sprint for the exit immediately. Without hesitating, he decides this is his only shot and starts booking it across the wide room, but in his frantic rush, his jacket slips off and he trips right over it, completely losing his balance, tumbling forward and nearly crashing right into his enemy. He internally curses himself for taking that jacket off. As he goes down, his hand instinctively shoots out to steady his fall, unintentionally landing an insane critical hit that sends the giant bully flying. After taking that accidental palm strike, Kang crashes violently into the wall. Kang Seo-hun slumps down with his head hanging, leaving a massive dent in the elevator door. Behind him, the watching thugs are completely stunned, unable to believe that Kang was just blown away like that, leaving even Cyan Sunbi utterly speechless after witnessing D1's unbelievable raw power. The gangsters immediately try to rationalize what just happened, guessing that D1 focused insane energy into his palm, naming the legendary technique the Flame Dragon Emperor's Iron Palm, a move that could easily shatter bones, but the system simply alerted our hero of a critical hit. D1 was proud of hitting him right in the chest especially since he did not expect much from a passive skill. Just as he thought the fight was won, Kang Sae-hyun coughed and started. Dragging himself up, the heavily injured bully could not believe Dawon had hidden all this power while playing weak, dragging himself up after that brutal strike. Kang grew furious, yelling out that he was going to wipe out Dawon. Instantly, everyone in the room saw the nerdy kid start shaking from head to toe in fear, but then Dawon gave a creepy smile that baffled the bullies. Our main character did not think that feeling complete despair was fair. Gamers deal with it all the time, but they never just give up. To him, struggling and failing was far better than throwing in the towel. He remembered an online player who won big by trusting a random number generator. Watching that success story had inspired Dawon to keep pushing. Win in the game, remembering how he kept trying to get a rare item using the money his literature tutor gave him. Despair can quickly turn to hope, which is why players put their faith in random odds. Dawon decided to roll the dice too, preparing to launch a full power punch at Kang Sae-hyun's face. He dashed forward, screaming that he would hit him right in the chest. But Kang bragged that he would not fall for the exact same trick twice. He quickly guarded his chest with both arms, but the bully completely missed. The fact that the fist was shifting course, aiming directly for his face, talk about a sudden shift, because now we are diving deep where a species lives at a depth of 6 meters and weighs almost 2,000 kilograms, nearly 85% of its body is pure muscle. This is the ultimate predator, the feared and legendary great white shark. We see two boys swimming far out from the safety of the beach. If you ever come face to face with a great white shark, you are supposed to strike its nose, which is its ultimate weak spot, no matter how strong it is. That same rule applies to humans because even highly trained fighters do not condition their noses, leaving them totally vulnerable. So even a tiny grazing strike to the nose can cause massive damage. Dawon's fist smashes right into the middle of Kang Sae-hyun's face, and he instantly knows it is a critical hit. Reeling from the massive blow, the bully Dawon realizes he must keep pushing with decisive strikes. Instead of relying on a tiny 1% critical chance, blood starts pouring from Kang Sae-hyun's nose as he shrieks, though he is still standing, consumed by absolute rage. He swears to wipe Dawon off the face of the earth, screaming it over and over. Right then, our hero suddenly slips behind him, locking an arm around his throat. Dawon yells out that Kang will be the one getting crushed, grabbing his nose while choking him out. The nerdy kid yells that he will only stop if Kang begs for mercy, warning that he is going to pass out. Meanwhile, he yanks the bully's nose up with all his might. The other gang members in the room watch in pure shock at this sight. Finally witnessing Dawon's real strength, Senior Tion stares in complete disbelief, stunned by the nerdy kid's insane power. Dawon keeps squeezing the bully's neck, forcing tears out until Kang desperately begs for mercy. The second his opponent gasps out a surrender, Dawon finally lets go. Kang collapses onto the ground, completely broken and utterly defeated. He gasps heavily for air while Dawon stands there, bruised and exhausted. Dawon mutters that he finally pulled off a win, but danger is looming. Right behind his back, a live wire slowly drops toward a dark puddle. Before Dawon can even finish celebrating, the bare metal touches the wet floor. Sparks fly instantly, and right as Dawon cheers, a massive short circuit triggers. A terrifying blast erupts right at his back, shattering the quiet room. Caught in the bright flare, Dawon jumps, while the onlookers freeze in panic. Terrified by the sudden detonation, the other thugs LSM start running. They stampede toward the elevator, desperate to flee before the fire consumes them. Having barely survived the last police raid here, they cannot risk getting trapped. In the panic, everyone inside the room luckily manages to scramble out to safety. Dawon, who seriously thought he was about to be roasted alive, catches his breath. He feels an incredible wave of relief to be alive, but then someone speaks up. One bully asks where Sion went, and everyone suddenly realizes she is missing. The group wonders if she is still stuck up there with Kang. Nearby, District Chief Han Yun-soon stands silently, looking down at a hydrant. Feeling a massive burst of anger, Dawon immediately spins around toward the door. He mutters that Sion should have bolted the moment she saw the smoke. Despite barely knowing her, he cannot just leave her behind in the building. He tells himself that they are practically strangers, but they still shared moments. She is not that important to him, yet they had quite the day together. He suddenly recalls her quiet promise, asking him to stay close all day. Charging onto the upper floor, Dawon kicks open the burning door and shouts out. He screams for Sion, announcing his grand rescue, but stops dead in his tracks. A stranger is already putting out the flames with a fire extinguisher. With everything completely under control, Dawon blushes as the man looks at him. Desperate to hide his shame, Dawon quickly stammers out a pathetic excuse. He claims he only returned to ask if it was okay to go home. The suited guy tells him the big assembly is postponed due to the damage. And here is the kicker: the new representative of Bora is Dawon himself. Dawon is completely speechless, wondering if this insane promotion is just a dream. Sion steps in, explaining that she set this up for a real purpose. She reminds him that he basically cleared out the other thugs single-handedly. Dawon has to agree, knowing that without this title, they would hunt him down. He realizes things would have ended up much worse for him otherwise. Later that evening, they walk together until they reach Sion's front gate. They say their goodbyes, and Dawon tells her to stay safe out there. He nervously hands her a plush fish, mentioning she seemed to want it. Confused, Sion blinks, so Dawon explains he saw her staring at the crane game. Sion tries to remember, then quickly clarifies she was not looking at toys. In reality, she was closely inspecting a wanted criminal poster on the window. Dawon stands there, completely mortified by his hilarious mistake, while Sion just smiles. Still thanks him for what he did, clutching her plush fish with a soft smile. She specifically thanks him for running back into the fire to save her. Dawon turns bright red and can barely stammer out a good night. Just then, a system alert declares that he finally became a man. He feels more like a bully, though, as this intense mission finally wraps up. Right after that, a new notification pops up, stating he has completed 8 consecutive missions and will receive bonus points. For his streak, realizing the danger was actually worth it, he wonders what kind of key he will receive as his reward this time, but the moment he sees the screen, he is completely stunned and loses his mind. Early the next morning, Dawon gets ready to head back to school after a massive absence. He decides to show up early to take care of an important in-game task. Arriving at the school, he unloads cables and monitors to set up what he calls his ultimate gaming battle station. He needs to set up these components in his new classroom, so he begins hunting down his assigned desk. When he steps inside, he notices another student already fast asleep at a desk and is shocked that anyone beat him here, still clutching all his gear. He is determined to build the most insane gaming setup in the entire school. As soon as he starts laying out the parts, he worries that he made too much noise and disturbed the sleeping guy. Glancing at the sleeping student's badge, he spots the name Han Yunsong. That name sounds pretty familiar, sparking a memory from yesterday. He suddenly remembers Sion warning him that Han Yunsong is the boss of the Seolyong district. She had emphasized that Han Yunsong was by far the most dangerous bully of all the districts in the entire area. Suddenly, Han Yunsong speaks up, telling Dawon there is no need to be scared since they are both council members now. But out of nowhere, the brutal bully sweeps all of Dawon's expensive gear straight onto the floor. Han threatens him, saying he could easily end him right here. Right now, Dawon immediately remembers Tiang's warnings to avoid a confrontation. And he cannot help but wonder why he is already facing the final boss. So early on, Dawon tries to calm things down, reminding him that as fellow members of the council, they are allies and should not be fighting. Han Yunsong scoffingly asks why Dawon thinks they did not eliminate him. Much sooner, when Dawon suggests it is because he took over Boram, Han corrects him, explaining that the council rules explicitly allow members to fight each other. He explains that establishing a strict hierarchy of power is absolutely essential. He pulls back his fist, calling this payback for Dawon. Messing with Seolyong, bracing for the heavy impact, Dawon closes his eyes and clenches his teeth, but just as the brutal punch is about to land, Han suddenly stops, admitting he actually has zero interest in Seolyong. Instead, he casually shoves Dawon to the dirt, looks down, and suggests they work together. Now that they are teammates, Han even offers to warn the other districts, assuring Dawon that nobody from Seolyong will mess with him again. Soon, the morning homeroom bell rings, and the rest of the class starts piling in. Dawon is left completely drained and overwhelmed by this insanely chaotic start to his first day. He then looks around and realizes Han is not even in his class. It is weird that the bully even waited there in the first place. Looking around, Dawon realizes something else is deeply bothering him throughout his breaks on The first day of his second year, he feels a growing sense of unease. During the third period break, he watches other students engaged in various activities but notices that for the first time ever, no one is forcing him to play games. The strangest part is how peaceful his class is. Usually the start of a new semester is marked by noise and widespread bullying. The bullies typically gather to pick an easy target to harass for the rest of the year, threatening everyone to establish their dominance. The school becomes a lawless jungle where only the strongest survive, with some students trying to rise to the top while others just aim for personal gain. But get this, just as Dawon is contemplating this unusual peace, a window suddenly shatters as a student is thrown right through it. Annoyed by the bullies acting like wild animals, Dawon heads to the bathroom to clear his head. The moment he enters, he comes face to face with Jamin, and the two stare at each other. Dawon had completely forgotten they went to the same school and instantly assumes Jamin is still angry about the karaoke incident. Fearing an attack, Dawon nervously raises his hands in a defensive gesture. To his surprise, Jamin does not attack. Instead, he congratulates Dawon for becoming the representative of Boram. The bully seems strangely excited, especially about Dawon being friends with Yoonsung. Dawon immediately notices how weird Jamin is acting, and when he questions him about it, Jamin makes up a poor excuse and quickly tries to leave. As he flees, he asks Dawon to put in a good word for him. With Yoonsung back in the classroom, Dawon continues to find it odd that no one is bothering him. He finally realizes that Han Unsang was not lying and must have actually warned the other bullies. His distant dream of living normal school life is finally coming true. He knows he should be overjoyed, but instead he just feels uncomfortable. He had initially thought the missions were designed to force him into confrontations with the bully bosses, but his recent and sudden induction into the bully council makes him question the system's true purpose. He starts to wonder if it is using him in some larger scheme. As Dawon considers whether he is just overthinking things, a girl comes over and asks if he is busy. Dawon assumes she is offering him a gift out of pity for his previously miserable life, but Aranju explains it is a thank you for what he did for her earlier. Completely shocked, Dawon takes the gift and wonders if he is dreaming. Opening the gift box, he is confused to find a small octopus inside. Eren explains that octopus is good for recovery and energy, and she remembered he was badly hurt that day. Dawon thanks her, joking that just seeing the octopus gets his heart racing, which Eren thinks is great. She then tells Dawon he should eat it alive, since that is the best way to recover. Just then, their conversation is interrupted by a strange red-haired boy who demands that Dawon play the game for him. Aranju asks Dawon if he knows the boy, but he replies that he does not. Meanwhile, in the school's dark photography room, a group of bullies is having a conversation. One of them notes that Han Nam-sung has never worked with other guys like this before. Han asks his friend if he's curious, but Kim Di-jin is sure Han has his reasons. Nam-sung explains that he expected Dawon to be useful in a real fistfight, but instead of just attacking or defending, he did something way more. Kim Di-jin suggests Dawon probably did it to make Han go easy on him or just gave up from pure fear, but Han insists that wasn't the case at all. Han points out that Dawon was clearly trembling and seemed to be looking at something specific. While Kim dismisses it as luck, Han says he saw something special in him during the assembly. This prompts Kim Ji, an associate from Salemdong, to ask if that is why Han is working with him. Han denies this and declares the questioning is over, adding that it is way more fun to get to know Dawon in person. Back in the classroom, and annoyed Dawon walks toward the strange boy, and Arin notices his odd behavior. He stands right in front of the weirdo, telling him to get up for ruining his quality time with her. Elsewhere, a massive tattooed guy wonders aloud why the second year's class 3 has been so quiet lately. His colleague shows him a card, explaining it is all because of one particular person. The tattooed thug finds it amusing that So Sungwoo is in the same class as Dawon. He agrees with Han's assessment, thinking they might get to witness something interesting since So Sungwoo is a bloodthirsty guy. At that exact moment, Dawon introduces himself to the red-haired boy, asking if he has spoken to Han Nam-sung. Trying to sound brave, Dawon tells So Sungwoo to play the game himself if he wants to survive. Dawon knows that no one from Salemdong can hurt him, but he realizes So Sungwoo is from Bangcheondong. Enraged by This threat, so Sungwoo stands up, questioning Dawon's audacity, but Dawon keeps his cool, replying that if So Sungwoo has hands and eyes, he can play the game himself. So Sungwoo mockingly asks if he should talk to Unsung about this. But Dawon stops when he notices the boy's eyes filling with pure hatred. He is momentarily freaked out by So Sungwoo's dark gaze, but then the boy suddenly snatches Dawon's phone right out of his hand. Sungwoo explains he only asked for the phone because he heard Dawon was a big gamer, which Dawon denies. Realizing he worried for nothing, Dawon is relieved. He even managed to show off in front of Arin, but that feeling is short-lived. His annoying buddy suddenly kicks Arin right out, leaving Dawon completely speechless. Just then, an announcement over the school intercom declares the start of lunch break for the second-year students. This gives Dawon an idea. If he leaves immediately, he might be able to eat. With Arin, since their classrooms are so close, he's thinking of looking for the prettiest girl in school when someone suddenly grabs his arm. Turning around, he sees that shy kid he saved at the karaoke bar trying to get his attention. Dawon is pretty impressed seeing the timid guy seek him out, and the two of them decide to head to the cafeteria together. As they walk, they see So Sungwoo striding down the hallway, causing all the other students to split up in pure fear. But just as the red-haired boy gets in line for his lunch, things take a wild turn. A massive, muscular senior jumps right in front of him, blocking his path. The giant guy declares that as a third-year student, he believed he had every right to eat before the underclassmen, using his massive frame to block the path, claiming the underclassmen wouldn't mind anyway. He even called his classmates over, telling them to skip the lunch line. Since no teachers were looking, standing nearby, Dawon was surprised to spot Jihan and asked what he was doing there, with Jihan explaining that he was also in Class 3. Jihan immediately warned Dawon that his actions were incredibly reckless and that he needed to watch his step, explaining how dangerous it was to deal with Sungwoo like that. He asked if Dawon had any actual clue who he was messing with. Dawon admitted he had spent the past year playing games, asking what the big deal was with this Sungwoo guy anyway. Jihan began to explain that Sungwoo was entirely different from usual delinquents, never hurting anyone without a concrete reason, completely ignoring the school's social hierarchy. Jihan added that Sungwoo generally has a calm personality and never blows up over nothing, but Jihan made it clear that this doesn't mean Sungwoo is totally harmless, as he can flip his switch in a single second. That violent shift is always triggered by one exact thing: someone cutting in front of him. Meanwhile, the third-year bully mocked Sungwoo, asking if he was mad just because some older guys decided to get their food before him. Another insult followed, making Sungwoo visibly irritated by the cheap taunts. With a dark gaze, Sungwoo quietly asked the massive senior if he honestly thought he was faster. Angered by the disrespect, the bully bragged his hands were faster than the eye could track, but before he could even swing, Sungwoo drove a fist straight into his gut, landing a brutal blow on the tyrant. This only enraged the furious upperclassman, who threw a desperate swing right at Sungwoo's face, but the red-haired fighter dodged it with ease. As he ducked, he used his body's momentum to launch a counterpunch. Sungwoo effortlessly evaded every single one of the senior's wild punches. The bully was baffled, utterly unable to land even a single blow. Suddenly, Sungwoo yelled that he had asked a question, unleashing a rapid, devastating storm of punches that absolutely destroyed his target. The surrounding crowd watched in stunned silence as the giant third-year collapsed flat onto the floor. Sungwoo coldly muttered that the guy wasn't faster than him, furious that some sluggish weakling dared to cut the line. Seconds later, the unconscious bully completely fainted. From a safe distance, Dawon watched the scene unfold alongside other terrified classmates as he and Jihan broke out in a sweat. That raw brutality was terrifying. Walking home, Dawon couldn't help but wonder if such a savage beating was truly called for over a lunch line. He didn't know much about Sungwoo, other than some rumors about sports clubs. He resolved to be extremely cautious, knowing that while Sungwoo is normally calm, he will unleash absolute hell if someone tries to skip ahead of him. Happily carrying his octopus home, Dawon swore he would never, ever cut in line whenever Sungwoo was around. High school should be a breeze now that he knew how to avoid the beast, but his sweet relief was short-lived. The system suddenly pinged him with a brand new mission. Run and overtake So Sungwoo. Standing in the middle of the courtyard, D1 screamed This task was completely absurd. The sheer frustration made his head spin. What would actually happen next? A brutal fight, most likely. Shaking his head, he focused on the harsh reality. He only had 10 minutes left. Just 10 minutes left on the clock. Failure was not an option. Fired up, Dawon knew he needed to track down So Sungwoo immediately. Down a nearby alley, a terrified student with shattered glasses lay in the dirt. He was begging, apologizing over and over through broken sobs. The poor kid was just rushing to his tutoring class. Cowering on the pavement, the kid swore he never meant to bump into him. But So Sungwoo just stared down, eyes cold and lifeless. One chilling question: was the kid faster than him? Total silence, then So Sungwoo simply grabbed his backpack. He turned and walked away, sparing the kid, who burst into tears. Blood dripped slowly from his nose. Right then, a shadow fell over him. Dawon knelt down, handing him a tissue and telling him to dry his eyes. As the trembling kid cleaned himself up, Dawon asked a very direct question. Did he want to get payback on the monster who did this to him? The boy nodded instantly, though he admitted he was far too weak to fight. Only 2 minutes remained on the clock. Time was running out fast. He comforted the kid, admitting that not too long ago, he was weak too. A strange, fiery determination started swelling up deep inside him. He promised the kid that starting today, they would never have to live in fear. So Sungwoo was done terrorizing people, and he would make sure of it. Gripping his keychain despite a sudden wave of sharp nausea, he prepared to strike. But then his mind suddenly drifted back to the events of 6 days ago. He remembered saying goodnight to Sion, quietly obsessing over his current quest. The very system mission that started it all, leading to a hidden streak reward. 8 consecutive missions completed. His reward was a heavy, mysterious keychain. It was an incredibly bizarre prize, and he stared at it in sheer confusion. Why on earth was the system handing him so many keys? The ring held 4 heavy bronze keys, along with a single shining gold key. Dawon wanted to test the golden one first, but a system warning flashed red. Every single key had to be turned simultaneously, or the rest would vanish forever. Honestly, he probably would have used them all at once anyway. While the gold unlocked a random ability, the bronze keys were different. They allowed him to permanently boost any stat before facing a boss. It was the ultimate prep tool, and he was dying to try it. But he chose to hold back, waiting for the perfect moment. Now, with only 2 minutes left, Dawon had to make a move. Did So Sungwoo have any weaknesses? None. He was an absolute monster. Sprinting out of the alleyway, Dawon ran like his life depended on it. But he collapsed around a corner, gasping as his lungs burned like fire. With seconds ticking away, he ducked out of sight to use those keys. He activated the golden key, praying for a skill that would save him. He finally got a cheap skill that targets the enemy's blind spot. He was pretty thrilled. He could use it repeatedly, but his total mana pool was still incredibly shallow. To fix this annoying issue, he decided to use one of his bronze keys to boost his stats. His maximum mana successfully increased by 100 points, finally unlocking. He still had keys left and could not decide which stat to upgrade next. Knowing So Sungwoo was a former track runner with a speed-based style, Dawon made a choice. He dumped his remaining keys into speed. Right then, a bus roared past. A girl was desperately chasing after it, accidentally slamming into a bystander along the way. She apologized and kept running, having bumped right into So Sungwoo. She managed to jump on the bus, breathing a massive sigh of relief, or so she thought. Before the doors could even slide shut, the menacing bully blocked her exit. With a nasty grin, he tried to grab her, but Dawon intervened and pulled him back. Right at that moment, a system alert popped up, confirming his chase mission was successfully completed. Our protagonist felt quite relieved for finally pulling it off. But then he saw the absolutely furious look on So Sungwoo's face. Dawon nervously asked if the guy accepted his apology, but a brand new alert suddenly flashed. A sudden chain mission notification had just popped up in his system. The first part of the mission was to defeat the bully monster, which deeply worried Dawon. Knowing he had to fight, he activated his skills as blue lightning crackled. Surging ahead with his blind spot skill, he charged forward to land a heavy blow. He landed a clean punch on So Sungwoo, believing attacking was his best defense. Our protagonist truly believed that attacking first was the best possible defense in this crazy fight. After the blow landed squarely, the red-haired bully groaned in deep pain. His expression shifted instantly as his eyes filled with rage, and he started cursing like mad. Finding the bully absolutely terrifying, our hero started running for his life. His strategy was simple: flee and then catch So Sangwoo off guard with more sneak attacks. But within seconds, the fast bully caught up and reached out to grab him. As soon as So Sangwoo grabbed Dawon's backpack strap, he violently yanked the whole thing off. He slammed the bag to the ground, leaving Dawon shocked by how incredibly fast the bully ran. How was the guy still moving like an absolute rocket after that direct hit? Dawon suspected his cheap skill cost less mana simply because it dealt a lot less damage. Before So Sangwoo could even mock his speed, Dawon launched a rapid succession of punches. Unleashing his flurry of surprise attacks, he actively taunted the angry bully for being slower than him. Watching So Sangwoo cough from the combo, Dawon wondered if the guy hated fighting. Removing his backpack, So Sangwoo growled that the boy had officially managed to piss him off. Dawon noticed the backpack was so heavy, it literally sank into the dirt upon landing. The heavy bag made a deep crater, leaving Dawon to suspect the thing was packed with rocks. Shocked by the backpack's weight, Dawon watched as So Sangwoo charged right at him. He quickly prepared another blind spot punch, but the bully easily dodged his strike. So Sangwoo snarled at Dawon to repeat himself while delivering a brutal barrage of punches. The rapid punches landed directly on our protagonist's face, leaving him completely dazed. Dawon was left in complete shock as a stream of fresh blood started pouring out of his nose. He tried using his skill again, but the man easily dodged, showing incredible speed. At that moment, the gamer understood the heavy backpack had been limiting his enemy. Without that massive weight limiting his agility, the bully glared with pure, terrifying rage. He dares Dawon to say that again to his face, but a second later, Dawon takes a heavy punch straight to the chest and goes flying, unable to land. Safely as he bounces across the ground, after getting totally wrecked, our hero realizes So Sangwoo has gotten incredibly fast. He wonders how many times So Sangwoo has activated his skill and considers using Falcon's drop. He knows that dodging a high-tier move is nearly impossible, but running out of mana is a risk. Dawon struggles to think how to counter that speed without any real martial arts experience. The arrogant bully cuts off his thoughts, asking if their nerdy target would prefer a deep coma or permanent paralysis. Hearing this threat, Dawon grits his teeth, knowing this psycho is genuinely dangerous. Even without a guaranteed way to win, he takes a massive risk and picks a third path instead. Our hero unleashes a 3-hit blind spot combo right away, but So Sangwoo easily evades. He mocks Dawon, saying cheap tricks simply will not work anymore, but before he can strike, Dawon pulls a fast one and connects with a massive surprise hit, slamming a backhand punch straight to the bully's cheek. Dawon immediately starts trash-talking, pointing out that he got hit right after boasting nothing would work. He even adds that the punch was slow, but it still connected. It turns out that in classic fighting games, survival comes down to one core rule: throwing a slow punch among fast ones or hiding a heavy hit behind small jabs. Our hero calls this a classic feint, and it worked flawlessly against his foe. After all, his entire knowledge of combat comes from gaming. He gambled on that single strategy, and it paid off big time, since unlocking his core stats, he knew matching So Sangwoo in raw speed was completely out of the question. That is why he dumped every single attribute point into physical power instead, essentially transforming his fists into heavy, bone-breaking weapons with an attack stat of 31. Dawon treated this fight like a raid, feeling that victory was actually well within his reach. He might struggle with normal life, but he simply does not lose when it comes to gaming. Facing this bully with that pro-gamer mindset, his first step was analyzing his enemy's exact combat patterns. Reading So Sangwoo's style, Dawon launches into another blind spot strike only to miss completely. However, that failed attempt was actually extremely useful. He managed to figure out that So Sangwoo always throws a lightning-fast counter right after dodging. His immediate priority is to protect his head and guard against a direct punch. He plans on waiting for a clean opening, but So Sangwoo shifts gears and throws a kick instead. This unexpected curveball catches Dawon totally off guard, and the boot connects squarely with his face, sending him flying back. He slams hard into the floor, sliding backwards. Before regaining his balance, So Sangwoo smugly barks out that trash-like Dawon will never beat him. In that split second, Dawon remembers his high school Track team days and realized he knows a thing or two about kicks himself. He also knows that if that hit landed lower, he would be completely knocked. Cold, Dawon realizes he has to end this match quickly, as dragging it out will only get him killed. He initiates a rapid, relentless assault. Anticipating So Sang-woo's dodges to land a feint, throwing what would have been a brutal gut punch, but in reality, the ruthless bully snatched his arm, completely blocking the strike from landing with even half its power. With one trapped, So Sang-woo fires a sudden upward kick straight to his chin. The impact is so brutal that blood sprays from Dawon's mouth, and he nearly blacks out. Mocking the boy's weak tricks, the bully strikes again. With a hard punch to the jaw, he follows up with a heavy kick, sending Dawon flying back. The bully sneers that these pathetic moves will never work. With eyes full of rage, So Sang-woo warns him there is no going back. Dawon collapses, coughing up blood on the cold floor. That devastating chin strike had been so brutal that he can barely crawl on the floor. He knows he must act fast. He will die here. Desperately, he opens up his skill menu, searching for any trick to turn the tables on So Sang-woo. He spots his critical health bar, realizing his exhausted body desperately needs rest to recover. Thinking fast on how to spend his remaining points, he notices he only has one blind strike left, but look closely. The skill description holds a massive secret, and he goes completely quiet. Looking up, he sees the bully winding up a heavy kick, like he's shooting a soccer ball. Right then, Dawon activates his blind spot skill and sweeps So Sang-woo's leg, striking him hard right on the heel. He screams in pain. Watching him stumble, Dawon smiles. It actually worked. He realizes that unlike his hawk strike, which strictly requires a direct hit to the target's head, this blind spot attack works perfectly anywhere on the enemy's body. Based on the description, he had been trying to hit So Sang-woo with just his fingertips. Now he knows this skill works anywhere. This is his absolute last chance to execute the power before he gets beaten to death. To make this shot count to win, Dawon quickly formulates a new plan. Lunging forward, he is determined to pull off a risky move and grabs his target. So Sang-woo is blinded as he pulls the hood down over his face, and the instant his vision is cut off, Dawon throws a hard punch, but the bully anticipates it, dodging and swinging Dawon to the side. Turning fast, he lands a brutal kick. Dawon crashes down in absolute humiliation. Battered, Dawon watches as the monster picks up a heavy pipe, dragging it on the concrete with a terrifying scrape, gripping the weapon. So Sang-woo mutters he should have grabbed this sooner. His mind drifts back to his school track days, a time filled with suffocating pressure. Pressure to be the absolute fastest. Let's be honest, his actual methods never even really mattered. Only about crossing the finish line first. Second place was a complete nightmare. Losing meant going home to face his father's terrifying, violent rage. The older man was a narcissist who had never once tasted defeat in his youth, and he utterly despised having a loser for a son. But after a terrible accident, his father lost the use of his legs, forever confined to a wheelchair. From that day on, he heavily pressured the boy to finish his dreams. He was forced to carry the heavy burden of his father's ruined legacy. Desperate to please the old man, So Sang-woo fought like hell. He ran until his lungs literally burned, carrying a heavy backpack always weighted down with sand. Yet despite all that brutal, endless training, some things just never changed. Always second best, for him, the glory of first place felt impossibly distant. Out of reach every time he wanted to quit, his father's harsh, disappointed voice echoed. Then, in total defeat, Sung-woo found a terrifying solution. Late at night, he called the track team's #1 star, demanding to meet up. As soon as the clueless kid arrived, Sung-woo struck, smashing a heavy trophy right into his face. In that instant, he decided that anyone faster than him had to be destroyed by systematically eliminating his rivals with brutal violence. He would reign supreme. Fast forward to the present, Sung-woo gripped his weapon, bragging to Dawon about his dark past. He had put someone in a coma before. That brutal act got him expelled from the team and completely abandoned by his own father, claiming that his father ruined his life. He boasted that he got off completely scot-free, protected by juvenile laws. Then, with a twisted grin, he raised the brick to crush Dawon, but hold on. A sudden sharp click echoed. Dawon calmly noted that to win any real fight, you absolutely must use items. And just like that, Dawon suddenly hurls the live octopus straight at Sung-woo's head. Incredible, it was actually still They're safely hidden inside his hood since the bus ride, he honestly thought. It had crawled away, but his bare hands pulled out the wriggling creature. Sungwoo, completely blindsided by this absolute madness, frantically tried to rip the beast off, but too late. Pitch black ink was already bursting all over the bully's face, throwing him into an absolute screaming panic. He dropped the brick, blindly clawing at his eyes, while Dawon calmly explained that squeezed octopuses always release ink. Now Sungwoo was completely blinded, with only enough mana left for one final, desperate strike. Dawon knew this hit had to be a total game changer. Move fast, he formed a quick plan and lunged at the blinded bully. Aiming to crush him, Sungwoo screamed in rage, completely lost in the dark. Seizing his chance, Dawon threw a brutal downward punch, striking his head squarely. In his mind, he thanked Eren for the life-saving gift. Landing a brutal, skill-boosted headbutt, he silently dedicated this ultimate victory to Eren. The crushing blow sent the red-haired bully flying backward through the air, crashing hard while his eyes were still coated in thick ink. Blood dripped from his mouth. Standing tall, Dawon smirked at his victory, noting he was way tougher than he looked. Suddenly, an alert popped up, confirming the running quest was cleared and Sungwoo was finished. For his reward, Dawon secured another set of keys, totally surprised to get more of them. This was easily his toughest fight yet, but right as he thought it, a cold, bizarre sensation suddenly washed over his entire body. His legs buckled completely, and he couldn't even stand straight anymore. Fearing his health was bottoming out, he pulled up his status and watched his hit points slowly tick down. Instantly, the memory of collapsing in the karaoke bar due to low health flashed through his mind. He was terrified of passing out in front of Sungwoo, who could wake up any second. Desperate to escape this suffocating, deadly situation, he quickly opened his menu. Dawon looks at his screen. Quickly, he uses a golden key to unlock more health. His total HP instantly shoots up by 500. Seeing this, he lets out relieved sigh. He collapses to the ground, finally safe, but the grind continues. He decides to use all his remaining keys at once, including another golden one. Boom, the system notifies him that a new class and skill have been unlocked. This new skill costs 200 mana points and delivers massive, powerful attacks. Yes, he has finally regained his lost multi-punch skill. But that mana cost, absolutely absurd. He needs to fix this fast. So he decides to burn his other keys to increase his overall mana points. Once that is done, he turns back to the octopus. Time for a thank you. Seriously, if not for this little guy, he would have been eliminated. Dawon decides to raise it as his own, since it was Eren's gift. He names the little guy Fufacho, but right then, total disaster strikes. A stray cat snatches his precious pet in its mouth and bolts. Dawon is completely horrified. Screaming, he sprints after the cat. Rage and panic take over as he desperately yells out for Fufacho. Hours pass. He is covered in scratches and bruises, completely exhausted from the chase. Dawon clutches the octopus photo, silently apologizing to Eren for failing to save it. Rescue Fufacho in time. Right then, his mother calls to ask about his day. When he tells her he almost died, she remains completely unbothered. She casually replies that she deals with wild stuff like that daily. He sighs, asking where her latest business trip took her. She explains she is currently staying in the United Kingdom. Hearing his utter confusion, she clarifies that she means the UK. She asks if he is eating well before delivering a sudden reminder. Do not dare to forget your father's death anniversary, she strictly warns. She is far too busy to visit the grave herself, asking Dawon to go instead. She wraps up the call quickly, saying she has work to do. Left alone, Dawon stares at a childhood photo of his family. He looks at the picture and a framed document on the wall. Hungry, he decides to eat, though his mind wanders to fried octopus. Meanwhile, in a dark, abandoned building, two thugs are talking. One of them reports that Sungwoo was beaten by Boromai's representative. The guy holding a tool demands to know if this is true. The terrified subordinate confirms the news, adding that Jibek Chang, the second-year representative of Bangshan Dong, ordered absolute silence. Nearby, Sungwoo is tied to a chair, forced to listen as his superior warns that if the Bangshan representative finds out they lost to Boromai, he will be furious. Baekchang then kicks Sungwoo's chair, sending it sliding across the room, screaming that weaklings always ruin things. He warns Sungwoo that they only agreed to look after him following his father's death, but he repaid that favor like a fool. Noticing a backpack filled with sandbags, Beekcheng mockingly asks if Sungwoo is still obsessed with track and his father's tragic death. He absolutely detests this obsession, turning to his subordinate, Ilseok. Jaibum Jang decides to step in and handle this mess himself, ordering his guys to capture Dawon Ha, the boss of Borim Idung. At school the next morning, Jahan mentions the red-haired bully did not show. He finds this incredibly strange because the guy never misses a single day of class. This makes Dawon wonder, was it because of their fight? Honestly, it would be better if he never came back. Dawon starts believing that since he beat Sungwoo, high school might actually get peaceful now. He genuinely hopes to enjoy a quiet student life from here on out. Suddenly, chaos. A classmate bursts in screaming Dawon's name. He frantically explains that some scary thugs just entered the school looking for him. The boy demands to know what kind of trouble Dawon got himself into. Before Dawon can even speak, another hostile group crowds the classroom doorway. The intimidating bullies announce they found him and confidently stride inside. One of them demands to know if this is the second-year classroom. No warning, the thug brutally slaps the student across the face. Dawon freezes in absolute terror as a massive, bald man steps forward to speak. The bald giant smiles, calling it an absolute pleasure to meet senior Dawon Ha. A rival bully, Dawon realizes these thugs must be from Bangshan. The creepy thug smiles and commands Dawon to come with them right now. No way, Dawon refuses instantly because his gut warns him. The bully snarls they will take him by force, but first, he has a question. He mockingly asks if Dawon thinks he can fight all 10 gangsters in this room. Dawon knows fighting 10 guys alone is suicide and desperately seeks an escape. Then a voice, a wild card, steps into the classroom. Han Unsung walks in and demands to know what these Bangshan thugs want. He is furious that they dared to bring their trash into his school territory. The bald leader looks surprised to see the notorious Han Unsung standing there. One of the student council members steps up, trying to mock Han Unsung. Before the guy can even finish bragging about uniting to crush the nerd. Too slow, Han throws a savage, lightning kick straight to his face. The bully collapses, screaming in absolute agony, while Dawon watches in utter disbelief. Han coldly warns that they cannot touch the nerd unless they answer a question. He asks the remaining 10 bullies if they think they can handle him alone. Dawon is completely stunned, realizing how terrifyingly strong Han Unsung really is. Enraged, another member charges. He is totally blind with anger. But before he can even get close, Han delivers a lightning-fast counter-punch. The underling drops instantly with a severely bruised face as Han remains deadly serious. Suddenly, a chubby guy tries to sneak up from behind, grabbing a heavy chair. He lets out a wild scream, slamming the chair down with full force. Han dodges effortlessly and prepares a devastating strike aimed straight for his neck. Direct hit, Han's elbow connects and sends him flying backwards. He crashes into the concrete wall hard enough to shatter right through it. Seeing this absurd power, another gang member begins to tremble in absolute fear. He desperately begs Han not to take another step closer to them. Meanwhile, another nervous thug warns that they will kill him if he advances. They charge at Unsong together, screaming that he has nowhere left to run. One guy, already celebrating an easy victory, lets out a smug laugh, but Han responds with an unbelievable, gravity-defying dodge, flipping completely upside down onto a table on his hands. He instantly unleashes a devastating double kick, striking both thugs square in the face. They drop like flies. Han stares down at the unconscious bodies on the floor. He mutters that dealing with garbage is such a massive hassle. Meanwhile, the bald boss is rapidly losing his patience, watching his crew get dismantled so easily. Then the white-haired fighter calmly tells the rest of the gang to attack all at once. They rush in, but with blinding speed, Unsong tears through them like paper, sending bodies flying violently across the classroom, smashing hard into the scattered desks and chairs. Dongha and Jihen watch in absolute terror, utterly paralyzed by this display. They finally realize Unsong is the most terrifying monster in the entire council. No contest, the guy literally just wiped out 9 strong fighters single-handedly. Now only the final boss of the Xiaoyongdong Council remains standing. Jaibeek raises his fists, and Unsong notes he is the last survivor. He charges forward like a bullet, throwing a fierce punch aimed directly at his chin. But his fist stops a millimeter from impact. He casually orders the gang to clean up every bit of the mess they made, spinning on his heel. Unsong walks away, warning Jaibik to ensure this classroom is spotless. Seething with rage, the bald leader yells out, asking if he truly believes Bongshan District will let this slide. Unsong completely ignores the empty threat and calls out to Dongha. He tells the protagonist to tag along with him to the cafeteria during their break. As they walk, Dongha expresses his gratitude for the backup back in the classroom. He is relieved, but that comfort instantly evaporates when Unsong leans in close. He is startled. Unsong leans in close and whispers directly into his ear, demanding to know what Dawon's actual intentions are as a member of this gang. He also asks why Dawon fought Sasungwoo from Bongshan. Dawon has to think fast. He knows a convincing excuse is the only way to get Han off his back. To play the part, Dawon decides to put on a ruthless, dark persona, claiming to be a bully hunter. But wait, here is the immediate catch. He remembers Unsong is a bully too, desperately hoping he did not offend him. Seeing the white-haired fighter stare back at him with an unreadable expression, Dawon panics, wondering if he should drop to his knees, but instead Unsong bursts into laughter, finding the whole bully hunter excuse highly entertaining. He wishes Dawon good luck and walks away. From that day on, Dawon constantly worries about retaliation from Bongshandong, but thankfully, nothing ever happens. With zero schoolwork to stress over, he spends his entire day at an internet cafe. Completely losing himself in gaming. While there, he overhears some kids talking about dropping real cash on gear, which strikes a deeply personal chord. He remembers when he used to pay to boost his own gaming stats. Feeling highly nostalgic and a bit emotional, he watches the young gamers leave. Suddenly, a gorgeous girl walks up, carrying a steaming bowl of noodles he ordered. To his complete shock, the waitress standing there is actually Ah Rin-ju. Dawon asks if she works here, and she explains she is just helping her dad out from time to time. Finding out his crush was actually the daughter of the owner left Dawon absolutely thrilled, but seeing his reaction, Rin completely misread the situation, assuming he was only after free stuff. Meanwhile, a crowd gathers around the desk of a highly skilled player. Some nearby nerds are plotting to brutally destroy a poor kid in game, which Dallin finds highly suspicious. Soon, some younger kids arrive and ask to borrow premium accounts, only to be mocked by the arrogant older players, while Arin is working her shift at the cafe, thanking some customers and wishing them a truly great day. Carrying a serving tray, she notices a deeply distressed boy who tearfully explains someone stole all his gaming gear. Arin asks what happened, and they say everything was stolen during a very quick restroom break. Noticing the worry on her face, Dallin decides to step in. He points out the thieves, prompting a shocked Arin to ask Dallin if he actually saw everything. He confesses he did, though he barely understood the situation then. Hearing this confession, the completely devastated young gamer immediately turns and desperately begs Dallin for some urgent help. Sobbing and crying, the child pleads with Dallin to recover the lost gear. Right then, a legendary system mission screen appears before him. A fresh quest pops up, exactly as Dallin anticipated. The objective is to defeat the thieves who robbed the child, with a gold key as the reward. But Dallin freezes, realizing he has to take down 4 delinquents instead. Sweating heavily in absolute shock, he knows he cannot fight 4 tough guys all alone. He is no martial arts genius like Han, but before he declines, the system reveals that a secret quest is paired with an amazing hidden extra bonus. Outside the internet cafe, the 4 thieves are already listing the gear for sale, happily planning to go buy drinks with all their dirty stolen cash. Suddenly, a completely unexpected, heavy surprise strike from behind hits the lead thief right on his head. This blind spot blow from Dallin leaves him badly injured as the giant thug collapses. Our protagonist explains that as a fellow gamer, watching their theft pissed him off. Now that is a truly real motivator. The system offers a date with Arin. Completely thrilled by this legendary reward, Dallin boldly challenges the other thieves to a fight. We see a quick flashback of the gamer kid, Arin, and another child crying out for help, while Dallin was completely hyper-focused on that special dating reward. Back in reality, Dallin gently places his hand on the head of the young boy to calm him, telling him to relax and wait here. Striking a highly heroic pose, our protagonist declares he will finish his mission before the hot food of the child even gets cold. Seeing that his initial sneak strike worked perfectly, Dallin turns to challenge the others. He boldly warns them, saying that if they do not step up and fight him right now, he will drag them down. Secretly, though, Dawon is completely panicking on how to actually fight now that his surprise element is totally gone. He gets an even bigger shock when the thug he dropped begins rising. The furious thief growls, demanding to know what just happened. Dawon is stunned, inwardly wondering if his hard strike did anything. The punks notice he is just some high school student trying to play hero in their illegal business. Realizing his bluff has utterly failed to scare them, Dawon immediately starts running away. The delinquents chase after him, screaming that he will pay away that easily. The thugs watch the high school student run straight into a dead end. Aliens start laughing, completely convinced they finally have him cornered, when one of the thugs actually steps into the alley. He realizes Dawon is gone. The rest catch up and freeze in confusion. They all know this place is a dead end, yet Dawon is nowhere to be seen. Then they spot a nearby trash can and burst out laughing, convinced he is hiding inside. They start mocking him, pretending they have no idea where he vanished to. Then one of the thugs steps up to deliver a threat, telling him he is about to become their dinner, but Dawon is not inside that trash can at all. Instead, he is perched high up on a ledge directly above them, waiting to strike. Just as one of the delinquents glances up, Dawon drops like a stone and slams a devastating kick straight into his face. The thug takes the full force of the blow and collapses, crushing the trash bin right under him. Right then, his system alert pops up to confirm that the first criminal has been neutralized. He instantly feels a massive wave of relief, thrilled that his attack actually worked. Meanwhile, the remaining punks stand frozen in absolute shock, questioning if this guy is truly just a high schooler. They demand to know his deal, but Dawon just strikes a smug pose, thinking they are terrified of his skills. Trying to play mind games, he warns them they will regret messing with him if they knew his real identity. Then he plays his best card, declaring himself the legendary bully rep of Boromandang. But his grand bluff fails because they do not even believe a bully council exists. Before another delinquent can throw a punch, Dawon activates his blind spot strike, landing a heavy blow right on the guy's neck. The impact completely knocks the wind out of him, leaving him coughing uncontrollably. Dawon realizes that compared to Seo Sungwoo, these guys are slow as turtles. Seeing the fear in their eyes, he walks forward slowly to keep them on edge. Now watch the remaining thugs try to hype themselves up, saying there is no reason to fear a lone nerd. Suddenly, two of them charge forward to flank him and lock him down. Dawon just scoffs, remarking that in games, numbers do not matter, as he attacks both of them at once. Confident in his moves, he easily lands both hits. No sweat at all. He also notices these four thugs are totally trash at fighting. This makes his job much easier, but he knows the truth. Dawon is actually incredibly weak without his system skills. He must stay cautious, knowing he cannot afford a single mistake. He has to keep them terrified a bit longer. One of the remaining thugs gets an idea. He suggests all three rush at the exact same time, but right during their countdown, Dawon interrupts them, asking if they know the best way to handle weak opponents. The thugs are totally lost. That is when our hero explains the secret. You pack them all together and strike at once. Having successfully baited them into surrounding him, Dawon Hoss activates his multi-strike destruction skill. Delivering a rapid barrage of heavy punches, he manages to take down every single opponent. As the three remaining thugs crash down at the same time, he stands tall, only slightly winded. The rush in his body is just like when he defeated Seo Sungwoo. It is the exact same rush he gets when defeating a major target in-game, a dangerous shiver. He starts to fear that this thrill might mean he is slowly losing his humanity. On the ground, one of the bloodied, toothless criminals looks up and begs. He desperately begs Dawon for mercy, swearing to return everything he ever stole. That promise is made. Seeing this pathetic pleading actually makes Dawon feel like a villain. So he simply orders the thief to return every single item they took. Our hero refuses to throw away his humanity. He is not like them. Taking his jacket back, he knows he cannot be a mindless bully. The final thief cannot be spared because the quest is not over. With one last enemy standing, Dawon charges forward to deliver the final strike. A massive flying kick will finish the job and unlock his sweet reward. The brutal double-footed strike sends a red spray bursting from the thief's nose. The final enemy collapses. Right on cue, the system alerts him of his victory. Every single thief is down. The quest to eliminate all four is officially complete. And right on time, a mysterious black key appears in front of him. But wait, he is actually much more excited about his other, secret reward. That reward is Ariju. Sometime later, the humbled thieves return to the cafe. Dropping to their knees, they promise the kid they robbed that they are finished stealing. The victim kindly forgives them, and the reformed punks swear to walk the straight path. Dallon leaves them with a cold warning. If they steal again, he will crush them. Naturally, they nod in absolute terror. Right then, a phone begins to ring. A man named Minju Kyung is calling one of the thieves, but they do not answer. Ari thanks Dallon, explaining they had been having a massive thief problem. He happily promises to always protect her. She tells him to wait right there. She wants to bring him some fresh food, promising to be back in a flash. This completely thrills Dallon. Sitting alone, his mind drifts back to Ari. The thought of her tight outfit leaves him completely flustered. Suddenly, we flash back to classroom floor, where a little girl has fallen. Older girls are bullying her, calling her a loser and blaming her for everything. Just then, a brave little boy steps in to defend her, Dallon Haas. It was his first year of kindergarten, and the day he first met Ari. But get this, Ari Ju was actually the first girl to punch him. She ruled the playground back then, a total kindergarten boss. Back then, she asked him if he wanted to be her next target. Terrified of the popular, mean girl, young Dallon avoided her gaze completely. After that rough childhood era, they split up and attended different schools. 3 years passed, and he never expected to cross paths with her again. But that changed one afternoon when she picked up something Dallon dropped. This high school version of Ari was completely different from his childhood memory. She did not seem to remember him at all, politely handing back his gear. But then out of nowhere, Ari Ju punched him right in the gut. Except this time she praised him, back in the present Ari. Ari promises to talk more once she changes out of her tight clothes. Once she leaves, Dallon collapses into a chair, grinning over his secret reward. He pulls out the shiny silver key, eager to see what he has earned. His hand, he decides to activate it before she gets back, hoping for something decent. Another completely useless skill like the last one. The moment he uses it, he unlocks the Weapon Master skill, boosting his proficiency with every weapon in existence. This brand new power actually terrifies Dallon, who absolutely hates the idea of armed combat and accidentally ending lives. Reading closer, he finds out that it only triggers when his enemy is also hurt, just as he reviews the system notification on his screen. Ariju walks back in and asks what he's doing. Dallon freezes on the spot, completely mesmerized by how stunning she looks in her dress. He quickly compliments her, saying the outfit suits her perfectly, leaving a relieved Ari to thank him. Right after that, she asks what he wants to eat, and he suggests hitting a steakhouse, but Ari mentions she's craving spicy rice cakes, and Dallon immediately agrees, claiming he loves them as well. However, she clarifies she actually had a very different dish in mind. So he just goes with the flow, assuming whatever it is will taste great. To his absolute horror, he is served a bizarre plate of noodles covered in mint and chocolate. Dallon stares in absolute disbelief, wondering how to swallow this, but Ari pouts with a heartbroken look, asking if he hates her food choice. He quickly pretends to love it, quickly shoveling the noodles in while claiming he just can't stop eating. Her eyes instantly light up, and she asks if he truly enjoys the dish, which Dallon quickly confirms, even though she notices he isn't. Even chewing, Dallon Ha is just incredibly happy to be on a date with Arin. He reflects that this is only his second date ever, and the first was forced on him by a system mission. This makes him wonder if a date given as a secret reward comes with a catch. Growing suspicious, he asks if she plans on dragging him somewhere weird. Arin simply smiles and says she has a spot in mind to show him. Soon they are at their next spot, laughing and having an absolute blast. Making plenty of noise, Dallon feels his body temperature rising from pure nervous excitement, as if he is on fire, but they are actually just playing a game of stacking wooden blocks. During Arin's turn, he mentions how insanely good she is at this game, especially since the block tower is already reaching crazy heights. Arin admits she usually sucks at games, but feels extremely confident in her Jenga skills, which is exactly why she wanted to challenge him. But right then, she accidentally bumps the table and knocks the entire tower down. Seeing her disappointment, Dallon suggests trying out some other activities. They move on to a lie detector toy, where Dallin Ha asks Arin if she thinks she's pretty, looking slightly self-conscious. She answers yes, and the device beeps, confirming she is telling the absolute truth. Once the tense vibe clears, she confidently reiterates that she does indeed find herself to be a beautiful person. Gorgeous person, she promptly places her hand back on the machine, ready for the next round. Dallin starts brainstorming his next question, knowing he can't let this perfect chance slip away, and honestly, who could blame him? He decides to ask the most important question of the night. He asks her if she has a boyfriend. While waiting for her response, Dallin gets incredibly nervous. Suddenly, his hopeful romantic dreams are utterly crushed when the gorgeous girl happily replies that she does indeed have a boyfriend. Boyfriend, although he acts totally fine on the outside, our protagonist is dying inside, realizing it was impossible for a gorgeous girl like her to be single. However, she suddenly admits the toy is broken and she was lying. Lying all along. Dallin Ha is incredibly relieved to hear this. They both laugh off the broken machine and begin choosing what arcade game to play next. They pick one fast. Meanwhile, those thugs are still hunting for them. They heard rumors that Dallin and the girl were spotted hanging out together. One delinquent starts mocking Dallin Ha for going on a date with Ari. His friend is furious. He tells him to shut his mouth. The injured thief vows to absolutely destroy the guy who left him like this. His buddy tries to keep him calm, awkwardly patting his head in a very strange, highly annoying way. Back inside, the couple is still having a great time. They have not even noticed how much time has slipped by. Dallin feels so much closer to her now, just happy to see things going well with Ari. She points at a colorful claw machine, eagerly asking him if he wants to play. Nearby, a loud vendor is advertising a traditional hammer and nail carnival game. The grand prizes are massive teddy bears. Ari immediately steps up but fails. So Dallin decides to try, but the vendor laughs at him. He claims the boy is too weak. Still, Dallin is extremely confident. He already knows the secret trick, just align the hammer and strike straight down. He is highly motivated. He wants to win that teddy bear. A perfect gift to make their date unforgettable, but right before he can swing, Dallin freezes. He begins coldly staring at something in midair. Ari watches in confusion. He is completely stunned by a message. It is a sudden system notification. The horrific quest demands a strike. He must hit Ari right on her head with the mallet, within 5 minutes. She asks what is wrong. Dallin is trapped in a complete nightmare. The system forces him to hit her. The prize is a dungeon map. Up until now, the system only asked him to deal with bad guys. He is in absolute shock. Why would it ask him to hit Ari? His body starts trembling. He knows a penalty is waiting. He cannot fail this, but he simply cannot bring himself to hurt her. Instead, he slams the mallet hard onto the table, faking a miss. He would rather take the system punishment than hit his date. While complaining about his loss, he spots a game booth behind him. It is a Royal Castle game where players use a soft toy hammer. A toy hammer, a perfect loophole. He gets a brilliant idea. He immediately takes Ari over there. The vendors are calling for players. Dallin volunteers them both first. The hosts quickly explain the rules. A game of rock, paper, scissors decides who gets the toy mallet. Ari notices Dallin looking extremely anxious. Time is running out. Only 3 minutes remain on his hidden clock. Every single second is critical. They quickly play a round of rock, paper, scissors, and Dallin actually wins. He grabs the toy hammer. This is his only chance. Silently apologizing to Ari, he swings the mallet at her head. But Ari is quick. She blocks it perfectly with a toy pan. They immediately face off in another round of rock, paper, scissors, and once again. Dallin wins the round. He instantly swings the toy mallet, but she deflects the strike. Using the metal pot just like last time, now it is Arin's turn to grab the toy hammer and strike Dallin, but he barely manages to shield himself. This makes him wonder how she is this good, almost like she predicts his every move. Meanwhile, Arin is absolutely loving it, having found another game she completely dominates. This only ramps up Dallin's anxiety, and panic sets in as he glances at the system clock. With under 10 seconds left, an excited Arin gears up for the next round, but before she can throw her hand for rock, paper, scissors, Dallin seizes the opening and whacks her right over the head. That desperate move leaves every single bystander watching them in complete silence. Staring at her, Dallin is absolutely convinced he just ruined everything again. But right then, a glowing system alert pops up to announce that the quest is officially complete. A follow-up notification says his rewards are ready and a physical pouch spawns. Taking it, Dallin lets the shopkeeper know. The toy hammer broke, but the guy tells him to just take it. As night falls, the two walk down the street while Dallin sweats buckets completely. Eaten alive by regret, he wishes he just failed the quest and took the system penalty instead. Gulping, he asks Arin if she is angry, but she simply bursts into an uncontrollable fit of pure laughter, seeing her react. This way, Dallin genuinely worries he might have brain damaged his friend. Still giggling, Arin promises it did not hurt, admitting she just never felt a blow that loud before, but the fun vibe vanishes when Arin mentions her dad is calling her back to the internet cafe right away. Waving goodbye, she tells Dallin she had a blast because of him, and he happily echoes the sentiment. Leaning in close, Arin promises they will hang out and play again. Soon as she walks away, she promises to see him at school tomorrow. Not knowing what else to say, Dallin just nods, but the moment she turns, a shady guy approaches him, asking what kind of game they were playing. Shaken, Dallin immediately shoves the man back. The sketchy guy then pulls out a phone, telling someone on the other end that he has located the target. Hearing the orders, Dallin realizes this guy is hunting him. The thug explains that he is here to deal with Dallin for beating up his boys earlier. Since the punk is talking big about payback, Dallin braces himself for a fight. But he is incredibly worried because he burnt through all his special combat skills on those low-level thugs. Right now, his specialized gamer system has absolutely 0 energy points left. Dallin gets the very bad feeling that if he fights this guy, he is going to get absolutely crushed. But suddenly, as the thug stares into Dallin's eyes, he claims he suddenly lost all desire for payback. He shrugs and walks off, leaving a heavily relieved Dallin standing, completely dumbfounded. But as the punk walks away, he suddenly stops and asks if Arin just headed back to that local net cafe. Dallin nods, demanding to know why, only for the trash to smirk and say he wants a turn playing some fun games with her too. After all, if she is down to play with a loser like Dallin, she must be totally easy. Before he can finish that disgusting sentence, Dallin grabs him with total fury. Donha tightens his grip on the guy's jacket, absolutely furious. He orders him to shut up and follow, but Sun Mingyu just taunts him, asking if he is scared, right as a brand new combat mission pops up. Seconds later, annoyed by the petty insults, Sun Mingyu strikes. The heavy blows fly, but Donha misses his first few opening swings. That gives the punk room to sink a brutal punch right into his gut. Standing tall, Sun Mingyu laughs off the rumors of Donha beating 4 bullies. Donha is hurting, knowing his critical strike skill is a total gamble right now. With his mana completely drained, he has to bet everything on raw luck. He will do whatever it takes to land a lucky hit on this guy. Anything to keep Sun Mingyu far away from Arin, who is still in danger. The punk keeps mocking him, copying his words about protecting his girl. Then Sun Mingyu pulls out a pair of golden brass knuckles with a sneer. Donha stares at them, wondering if this counts as a real weapon. Sun Mingyu charges forward, screaming that he is going to wreck his face. But before the criminal can even land a blow, check this out. Donha suddenly intercepts him, landing a massive counterstrike straight to his chin. Swinging his own weapon, Donha unleashes a flurry, but Sun Mingyu blocks them. Finally, one heavy swing connects, sending the bully flying backward. Sun Mingyu barely lands on his feet, holding his bruised face. He looks around, confused about where Donha got a club, then spots a bag. It is from a toy store, and Donha is already calling him out. Right then, the system alerts him that his weapon master skill is active. This hidden perk only kicks in when fighting an armed opponent. Donha stands tall, holding a glowing toy hammer wrapped in energy. He points the ridiculous plastic mallet at Sun Mingyu, looking totally deadly. Sun Mingyu is sweating, wondering if his eyes are playing tricks on him. He cannot believe a literal toy actually hit him with that much power. He screams at Donha, demanding to know what kind of trick this is. Donha just taps the hammer against his own forehead with a shrug. It is just plastic, he says, driving his opponent completely insane with rage. The punk charges wildly, but Donha intercepts him with another swift squeak. The plastic mallet smacks Sun Mingyu's fist right before his knuckles connect. Donha readies another strike, telling Sun Mingyu he can keep doubting his eyes. He triggers the weapon skill once more, but the bully reacts too fast. Sun Mingyu manages to dodge the heavy downward swing this time. Slipping past the blow, he lunges forward and grabs Dawn Ha. Pinning his arms, the punk boasts that Dawn Ha is useless up close. But Dawn Ha instantly counters by slamming the blunt handle into his spine. The painful strike forces Sun Mingyu to release his tight grip. Breaking free, Dawn Ha steps back to create some much-needed space. He raises his arms high, promising Sun Mingyu a brutal lesson is coming. Cursing him out for every disgusting word he said about Arin. He swings with pure fury, but then the toy head snaps right off, leaving Dawn Ha staring blankly at a useless plastic stick. Broken so fast just because it was low quality, trying to stay calm, Dawon wondered if he could still use it, but right as that thought crossed his mind, a system notification popped up: damaged weapons cannot activate skill effects. The sudden system alert left Dawon completely stunned as he realized he was practically weaponless. Desperately, he looked around his surroundings, searching for literally anything he could use instead, even something as basic as a heavy metal trash can. But seeing Dawon struggling, Sun Mingyu lunged forward to deliver another heavy blow, his fist armed with brass knuckles. Smashed straight into Dawon's face, sending a painful spray of ketchup flying. After that brutal hit, he mocked Dawon, asking if he is totally helpless without his mallet. As Dawon collapsed onto the floor in agony, he wondered what kind of crazy force he was dealing with. Those gold brass knuckles made the impact feel way worse than any normal punch. Right after that first strike, Dawon got pelted with a relentless barrage of heavy hits, absorbing a direct gut punch. Dawon felt his breath leave him. Sun Mingyu smiled, declaring he would beat our hero within an inch of his life before dragging him to Aranju. He promised to do terrible things to the girl right in front of him. Sun Mingyu bragged about getting his revenge and satisfying his darkest desires. Hearing this, Dawon asks sarcastically if he copied those cliché villain lines straight out of some cheap movie or game. He asks why Sun Mingyu is so desperate to act like a bad guy, but the thug just laughs and says the reason is simple, raising his fist for a downward strike. Sun Mingyu claims that being bad just feels better, but before he can swing, a sudden crack cuts him off. Stunned, the bully tries to figure out what on earth just whipped and stung him so badly. When he sees it as a leather belt, Sun Mingyu freezes. Dawon had triggered his master weapon skill in the most creative way possible, using his very own belt. Furious at this bizarre tool, Sun Mingyu charges forward again, but Dawon strikes him relentlessly, landing a brutal series of fast, stinging whiplashes right across his face. With every strike, Dawon demands to know what is wrong with him too. Make such disgusting threats. Enraged, the thug drops his gold brass knuckles and catches the leather strap midair, trapping Dawon's makeshift weapon, gripping it tightly. Sun Mingyu sneers that living without thrill is totally boring. He claims any other lifestyle is completely fake, winding up for one final knockout. But Dawon just grits his teeth, wrapping the loose belt end around Sun Mingyu's punching arm to lock it tight. With his enemy's main weapon fully trapped, Dawon shifts his weight, pulling off a clean judo flip right over his shoulder and crashing the giant brute heavily onto the concrete. The second he hits, the bully spits up foam and immediately goes limp, knocked out cold. Right then, the system alerts Dawon that the emergency quest is finished since he defeated Sun Mingyu. Exhausted and bloody, Dawon lets out a deep sigh of relief. Now that it's over. Meanwhile, Ayun's dad apologizes for making her work late instead of studying, but she shrugs it off, asking for dinner instead. He asks what she's craving, and she happily requests some fried chicken with chocolate and mint. Finding her completely safe and sound, Dawon can finally smile. She's safe with her dad. Later, after finally getting home, Dawon feels relieved and happy to have made it back in one piece. Lying hurt on the couch, he admits to himself that he honestly thought he was going to die today. When he remembers the question that thug asked, he still has absolutely no answer. He then wonders how his dad would have responded. The man dealt with thugs his entire life. But for now, Dawon decides to drop it, opening his sudden mission reward. Reward from that sudden mission. Inside is a set of 5 bronze keys. After this chaos, danger could strike anytime. When the next fight starts, he invests in other tributes since his attack already got a massive boost. He spends those precious bronze keys to boost his agility and defense stats by 3 and 2 points. With his attributes raised, he completely ignores the spirit stat because he has no idea what it does. Seeing the bag on table, he decides to check his hammer game reward. A dungeon map, Dawon is completely baffled. Ignoring the flashing system window, he wonders if this could actually lead to a real-life dungeon. Usually those have giant, terrifying gates suddenly appearing, but when he looks inside the bag at the actual reward, he freezes in pure shock, sweating heavily. Dawon realizes it actually is a dungeon map. Talk about a twist, but all he sees is a basic real estate pamphlet. He wonders how this royal castle map, which is just an apartment complex, could possibly be an actual dungeon. Then he spots a construction date, the deadline. This makes him question whether that massive, unfinished construction site is the real dungeon. Suddenly, a notification pops up. The mission opens in 5 days and highly recommends bringing a group. He realizes he needs full party to explore this place, just like in an RPG. Too scary, he immediately decides to pass. No way, but the system immediately warns him of a severe penalty if he fails. Dawon gets incredibly frustrated with this demanding setup. It takes everything and still demands more. Still, he has to accept his reality. He immediately tries to recruit a friend to tag along, but Unsung flat out rejects him with other plans. He firmly states he is not a pawn Dawon can just order around, leaving him right back at square one. Who can he bring? Just then, his quiet classmate Jihan asks what is bothering him. That gives Dawon a wild idea: invite Jihan. But he quickly hesitates, remembering Jihan's awful history with brutal bullies. And how dangerous this dungeon is. Scrap that plan. Sion suddenly appears, asking where he is headed. Dawon is completely stunned to see this incredibly gorgeous girl show up at his school completely out of the blue. She claims she came simply because she does not have his number. This makes he is highly suspicious, but she dismisses it. Ever since he became a representative, she has not had a chance to introduce him to some very important people. Intrigued, Dawon asks. Sion reveals they are the men of Boromir. Dawon questions if she really needs him. He argues that he does not do much as a neighborhood representative anyway. Dawon then imagines a ridiculous scenario. He acts like a bossy leader. Ordering his underlings to eat, they instantly devour food like beasts. The mere thought makes Dawon feel like he cannot handle this crazy role. But just as he is lost in thought, wait for it, they have already arrived. The moment Dawon walks inside, someone greets him warmly using his old gang name. They say it is an honor to meet him, leaving Dawon feeling secretly smug but shy. He starts to ask if this is a gang, but gets cut off. He wanted to be called representative, but instead notices 2 highly eccentric guys. They are waiting at a table, calling out his gang name, Cumin. Then his eyes lock onto Sehun, the guy he punched earlier. Sehun looks completely shocked. Dawon suddenly remembers that Sehun belongs to Boromir. He is stunned to find him here. Sion immediately asks what is up. Sehun angrily accuses Dawon of being a complete fraud, but Dawon just snorts. He asks Sehun if he is not ashamed of getting beaten up so easily. Sehun claims he cheated, so Dawon strikes a cocky pose and threatens him. He asks if he wants another beating. Sion tells them to stop. She says they are embarrassing themselves and gives them a terrifying death stare. She orders them to sit down, making the eccentric guy sweat. He remarks that her terrifying attitude is exactly like the rumors said. The older man thanks Sion for finally bringing Dawon Hunim to meet them. When Dawon asks if the other gang members are showing up soon, though, the old man looks confused, explaining that the 4 of them are the entire crew. That is all Boromir has right now. Talk about a major letdown, right? He expected a massive room packed with tons of tough members. The old man begins explaining what happened after the last Boromir representative left. But Sehun quickly tries to change the subject, so Sion steps in. She clarifies that today is just for quick introductions, keeping things simple. Sion introduces the first-year student as Shin Sehi. Shin Sehi then explains that Sehun is the deputy of Boromir. He adds that Sehun would be the boss if it were not for Dawon. He insists Dawon just needs to hold the title for now. Sion then asks Dawon if he has caused any trouble lately, making him sweat. She mentions his talk with Han Yunsung and dealing with neighborhood bullies. According to her, those reckless stunts almost caused a massive war. Dawon realizes she already knows the answers to her own questions. He got away with it, but Sion is definitely keeping a close eye. When she brings up the fresh scars on his face, he panics. He desperately tries to change the subject. Sehun notices that Dawon is actually trembling with worry. Trying to calm them, Sion reminds everyone that Boromir is too weak to fight. But Sehun immediately objects. He claims he is strong enough alone. He insists he can handle other gangs alone, forcing Dawon to stifle a laugh. Seeing Sehun's ridiculous face makes Dawon's urge to laugh even worse. Furious when he notices, with Tion totally exhausted by all this constant bickering, Shinsehi cuts in to ask if he can order some shrimp. 4 days later, a conversation about money is taking place inside a completely different building. 2 men are discussing how some time and effort could have been saved for their henchmen. An old man explains that the building's construction is falling behind due to problems finding workers. He warns a thug not to take cheap advantage of the folks inside and just get lost. This gangster, clad in a green suit with tattoos, fires back that his actions were only for his clients' benefit. Knowing the elder is extremely wealthy, he suggests they demand a heavy bonus for working day and night. The old man snaps that these punks have zero respect, which only infuriates the mobster. He barks for his loyal underling, Ilseok, commanding him to thrash the old man until he gives up the money. Ilseok slowly rolls up his sleeves and nods that he fully understands the task. Shortly afterwards, the henchman is spotted wiping his hand, now covered in a weird slime. The leader chuckles, totally confident the target will pay up one way or another. He asks if his entire crew is ready, and Ilseok confirms. They have all assembled on the first floor. The boss then admits he has a personal motive to raid Boromir Dong, since his guys were previously crushed by Dihyun. With a freezing, wicked gaze, he declares they will kick off their offensive by targeting the absolute weakest of Boromir's crew. Right away, the men he gathered mobilize, preparing to head straight to Boromir Dong. Meanwhile, 2 intruders quietly slip onto the construction site. One demands that the other surrender, the leadership dropping a fierce threat if he dares to change his mind about transferring the title after getting their help. The resident thugs wonder who these random fools are and how they found this secret place. Checking the map, Dawn wonders why this dungeon is in Bongshan Dong. Dihyun declares that since they had their school invaded, things are going to be different. Now they are the ones actively invading the enemy's home turf. Right on cue, a system notification declares that they have successfully entered the royal castle. The scene flashes back to the past, showing Sehun on a call asking why Dihyun accepted his assistance. During that phone call with our hero, Sehun had asked if he was actually being serious. Stressed, he demanded the coordinates and said he would go immediately. Back in the present, Sehun insists that Dihyun must hand over the leadership role to him. After Dihyun tells him to shut up and help, Sehun warns him not to get in his way. Suddenly, a rival gang member attacks Sehun from behind with a baseball bat, but as soon as the wooden weapon makes contact with his back, it breaks completely in half. Sehun scoffs, asking the punk if he honestly thought that would be enough to hurt him. With extreme speed, he locks his hands around the thug's neck and begins to choke him. Lifting the guy high into the air, Sehun asks if he really thinks he can beat the grenade of Boromir with such a pathetic attack. Another Bongshan goon then rushes towards Sehun, screaming at him to release his friend before the guy can get close. However, Sehun throws the first delinquent at him, causing them to crash into each other. Kang Sehun then yells at the members of Bongshan Dong, telling them all to come at him. Dawon hadn't expected much from Sehun since he had beaten him before, but now he was truly noticing his extreme strength. He realized Kang had easily blocked the Falcon's drop in their last clash. Without a critical hit, Dawon would have lost that fight. He silently thanked Kang for bringing him along, realizing even trash like him has value. Just then, the system alerts him to a brand new special event mission to defeat 5 normal people. As the other Bongshan gang members prepare to rush in recklessly, Dawon suddenly stands right behind them with a saber in hand. He has no desire to fight, but he simply cannot waste a precious golden key reward, so he decides to strike. Using Weapon Master skills, he easily defeats the first guy, wrapping up phase 1 of his mission. Furious at Dawon, a nearby thug charges in, getting angry and charges forward with a heavy metal pipe. Dodging the swing, our main character pins the pipe flat with his foot, and honestly, he makes a great point. Iron pipes are only for weak extras, right before slashing the guy down. Taking a direct hit from Boromwin's top fighter, a massive stream of strawberry jelly bursts out of his nose. Down he goes, finally our hero. Drives his saber deep into the thug's stomach, slamming him hard into the ground. System alert. The second normal monster is officially down, leaving 3 more. He feels great utilizing his weapon master skill, which heavily boosts his blade's power. Nearby, Kang is left completely shocked by Dawon's skill, realizing he truly knows how to fight. Glancing down, 2 other thugs suddenly arrive to attack. In corner Kang, he dodges the first swing easily, ducking his head without even moving his feet. Instantly, he counters with a brutal upward punch straight to the guy's chin. The other thug takes advantage of the opening to ambush him from behind with a pipe. Kang calmly absorbs the heavy strike, his body hardened by battle, and fires a brutal counterpunch to the face. In seconds, down he falls. The thug drops, badly beaten, with a stream of dark ketchup pouring from his face. Spotting one more thug ahead, Kang decides to ask him a question, asking if their boss is here too, referring to Bongshan Assemblyman Beekchan. Meanwhile, sipping whiskey, the boss of Bongshan asks if his men have already left. His subordinate, Ilseok, tries calling them, but nobody answers the phone, since Beekchan refuses to go. After his elite crew himself, Ilseok heads out to investigate them. Meanwhile, Dawon continues. He takes down 2 more enemies for his system mission. Exhausted and sweating, he celebrates that he is so close to finishing the job. Around the 2 members of Boromwin, several enemies from the rival gang lie defeated on the cold ground. He notices the guy held by Kang is the last target, while Kang is busy boasting that he took down 1 extra enemy. Then Dawon, the captive thug, suddenly pulls a hidden knife, realizing what is happening. Shocking, Kang's eyes go wide. Dawon yells that he needs that final kill and hurls his saber straight at the target. The blade hits the thug perfectly, sending him flying from Kang's grip as he drops the knife. As soon as the weapon strikes the rival, he is instantly knocked out cold. Right then, the system notifies Dawon that his mission is officially complete, unlocking his reward. The enemy wave is incoming. After beating 5 regular thugs, Dawon grabs the golden key. Kang Soo-hoon glares at the weapon on the floor, claiming he never asked for Dawon's help. Nursing his bruised pride, Soo-hoon turns away and starts climbing up the stairs. Spotting that Dawon stayed back, he asks if he is scared to follow, but Dawon quickly denies it. After trudging up several flights, Dawon sighs and mutters that this is exhausting. Suddenly, a voice from above echoes, calling this an unexpected sight. The guy, Ilseok, says he never expected any intruders to invade their headquarters in this castle. Dawon recalls this punk was part of the crew that attacked his high school earlier. Soo-hoon figures that if Ilseok is guarding, then Jibik must be nearby. 2. Without hesitation, Soo-hoon brushes past the thug, marching straight toward the Bongshan Dong assemblyman. Infuriated, the lackey Ilseok snaps, asking how he dares to disrespect him. Before he can strike Soo-hoon, Dawon hits Ilseok's blind spot from behind. Seeing that the main boss is upstairs, Dawon handles this guard instead. He tells the guy to grab a paint roller for a weapon so they can square off. Meanwhile, Soo-hoon finally reaches Jibik and remarks that it has been a while. The Bongshan Dong assemblyman smiles widely, thrilled. He immediately starts teasing Soo-hoon for losing his class rep title to a pathetic little nerd. In retaliation, Soo-hoon calls Jibik a coward who only schemes from the shadows without his master's knowledge. Angered, Jibik sneers that he despises talkers who only bluff. Soo-hoon dares him to find out if he is bluffing, and they immediately begin clashing. While that duel rages, Dawon accidentally drops his red sword. Pinned down by Ilseok, Dawon realizes he is in trouble, having underestimated his opponent. As a regular thug, Joe Ilseok boasts about being an elite monster, claiming he can easily crush Dawon with only one hand, while Dawon tries to comprehend what an elite beast even is. Ilseok brags he is unlike ordinary punks, but before the bully can finish him, Dawon fires a brutal kick straight to his groin. Dawon is actually pretty shocked that Ilseok managed to react and block that surprise blow. He leaps back to create space, announcing he is not like those typical high school weaklings. Just then, a blue system window flashes, declaring that the dungeon promising a massive reward for victory, and he can't back down now. Locked combat with Ilseok, Dawon commits to finishing this fight, vowing that this dirty floor will become his enemy's tomb. Ilseok spits back that it is going to be a double funeral. Rushing Dawon, the delinquent yells that the senior student will not survive this. Dawon suddenly remembers a crucial lesson about combat. Instead of just striking from a blind angle, it is much better to disrupt the enemy's flow. Landing one blind blow naturally opens up an even wider gap because of the raw force. Executing this tactic, he lands a vicious punch directly to Ilseok's jaw. Excited to see his plan succeed, he instantly strikes the blind angle again, landing a heavy blow on the punk's cheek. The impact leaves the guy completely defenseless, allowing Dawon to unleash a relentless flurry of strikes he dubs a beating. Dawon wants to continue the thrashing, but a surprisingly fast counter from Ilseok comes. Out of nowhere, the punch from the Bangshindong delinquent comes flying in. It connects cleanly, but Seok admits he was actually terrified of Dawon. Dawon easily blocks the strike, instantly realizing it has zero power behind it. His physical strength has clearly shot up thanks to his recent status boost. Grinning after deflecting the heavy blow, he warns Seok that he is next. The delinquent stands there frozen, unable to comprehend how Dawon reacted so fast. Seok recovers his composure and reveals he has been doing his homework. He mentions some highly specific rumors about Dawon hiding away from the sunlight. Then he laughs, talking about how delinquents are just a non-profit group. A group that apparently only exists to guide and help troubled youths. And then comes the real kicker about who actually started this organization. He reveals the founder was none other than Hye Jin-oh, Dawon's father. He brutally calls Dawon's father a cold corpse, a dead man who is nothing more than rotting flesh in the ground. Furious, Dawon rolls up his sleeves and tells him to shut his mouth. Meanwhile, the scene cuts back to Jae-beek Chang and Kang Soo-hoon. They are locked in an intense struggle, trying to crush each other's grip. Jae-beek Chang planned on destroying Barama today and asks what Kang is doing. Kang calmly replies that he is just following his leader, Dawon. Hearing this, Jae-beek Chang realizes their big boss is close by. Thinking this is his lucky day, Jae-beek Chang drops to the floor. The moment his back slams onto the cold floor, he drives his foot straight up. His foot drives right into Kang's chest with a massive, brutal impact. He laughs, celebrating his clever strike, but the fight is not over. Kang suddenly snatches Jae-beek Chang's leg, leaving him totally defenseless. Claiming he is an immovable mountain, Kang gears up to strike back. He swings Jae-beek Chang like a ragdoll straight into the furniture. Kang casually boasts that he already wiped out everyone on the first floor. He adds that Dawon is currently taking care of Seok on another floor. Suddenly, Jae-beek Chang bursts through the smoke, punching Kang's face. Kang immediately fires back, and they both trade devastating hits. Seizing the moment, Jae-beek Chang drives a knee toward Kang's face. He connects cleanly and immediately tries to wrestle Kang to the floor. But Kang stands his ground, bracing himself to stay upright. Having barely saved his nose, Kang grows irritated by these cheap tricks. Jae-beek Chang warns him that leaving his leader behind was a fatal mistake. A mistake that has already decided the outcome of this fight. He explains that Dawon is far stronger than Kang could ever imagine. And if Kang actually knew Seok, he would be sweating right now. Meanwhile, in the other room, Dawon lands a clean blow to Seok's stomach. He strikes from a blind spot, following up with a hard right hook. But Dawon is starting to realize that something is seriously wrong here. No matter how many heavy kicks or specialized moves he lands on Seok, his absolute strongest attacks do not seem to do any damage at all. The guy is basically a zombie, constantly getting back up for more. In the room, Jae-beek boasts that to this day, he has never once seen his bodyguard lose. Dalmon, still fighting, wonders what is wrong with Seok and how he can stay standing. He simply cannot understand how Seok has not passed out or been defeated yet. Realizing he only has enough mana points left for multi-hit attacks, Dalmon decides to end the fight with a single powerful ability, but just as he is about to unleash his strongest move, Siwoo shuts it down with a swift punch directly to the face. Preparing another strike, Siwoo remarks that Dawon seems to have already grown tired of fighting. Right at that exact moment, Dawon lands an unexpected strike from Siwoo's blind spot. Siwoo dodges the blow and taunts that Dawon is way too slow. He then drives a punch into Dawon's stomach, mocking him for getting excited just because his dad was mentioned. Siwoo asks if Dawon even understands why he brought his father into this Conversation. Before explaining, Siwoo lands another brutal punch to Dawon's stomach, claiming he did it because he felt bad for Ha Jin-oh. His father, Siwoo, claims that Ha Jin-oh must have died believing his mission was fully accomplished, believing he had helped change the lives of bullies, but instead of honoring that legacy, his son Dawon sided with the bully council, going against everything his father fought for. Siwoo then adds that he is different from other delinquents and shouldn't be called one, saying that Ha Jin-oh must be weeping in heaven watching his son walk this path. Ilseok tells Dawon that if he looked closer, he would see he was throwing his life away. Siwoo prepares another punch and easily lands a direct hit on Dawon's face, or so he thinks. To his shock, Dawon takes the punch and barely moves. Wait for it. With Siwoo's hand still on his cheek, Dawon stands still, remembering to grab the golden key, recalling the unique skill class he unlocked through mission reward. Grabbing his opponent's clothes, our hero warns him one last time. Filled with absolute rage, Dawon warns Ilseok to never speak of his father like that again. Suddenly, a childhood memory flashes before his eyes. Time when he used to play video games with his dad, recalling a special move from one of those games called the Stunning Blow. In that memory, a younger Dawon was having the time of his life playing alongside his father. The game involved a heroic knight rescuing a princess captured by the demon king's army, knocking out every single enemy with that signature stunning blow to fight his way to the top of the castle. But no matter how many times he hit the final boss, the demon king would never fall. The defeated knight had no choice but to get up and try again. Again, after every defeat, little Dawon would cry and ask his dad if the game was impossible to win, but his father never gave up, always pressing continue. After being completely annihilated, back in the present, Dawon realized that after using his golden key, he had unlocked that very same skill. This stunning blow cost 90 points and was designed to knock a target down. Gripping Ilseok's clothes tightly, our protagonist repeated his earlier warning. He told Ilseok not to speak of his father again and threw him over his shoulder, activating the exclusive skill. With the stunning blow, Dawon slammed the man fiercely into the ground, raising a massive cloud of dust. He warned the delinquent to respect his boundaries, but when Dawon looked down, the spot where the guy should have been lay completely empty. Before he could even react, Ilseok grabbed him from the blindside and slammed him down. The thug yanked Dawon's leg with brutal strength, dragging him down once more. As Dawon's head bounced off the floor, he was stunned that Ilseok was standing. He wondered what this monster's body was made of, as Ilseok coldly asked if he was done. Ilseok sneered, asking if he was done talking. Meanwhile, Sihoon faced off against Jibek. Jibek asked what he planned to do, charging straight at the Boromir rep. Sihoon agreed that this fight was going to be an absolute disaster. He tackled Jibek with a high-speed blitz, telling himself to keep his focus. This was no time to be worrying about Dawon and his crazy duel. He did not care if Dawon lied or got crushed. Laughing, Jibek used the fall. He pivoted off the ground with his hands, turning his fall into a counterkick. Saying he hated to spoil cocky brats like Sihoon, he launched a double kick. Jibek taunted that Sihoon should at least pretend to care about his leader. Sihoon spat back, asking if Jibek actually cared about his own boss. Sweeping Sihoon off his feet, the Bongshan delinquent scoffed at the question. Why should he care when his leader was on a completely different level? Boromir was nothing compared to them, he sneered, raining down brutal punches. Sihoon felt absolute agony. Jibek bragged that nobody could stand against them. Not even Silim's best could challenge Bongshan, and honestly, the situation is looking pretty dark. Ilseok kept dodging Dawon's frantic swings, telling him to save his energy. Kicking the gamer nerd back, Ilseok mocked him for being totally out of shape. Dawon spat back, asking if Ilseok really thought he was the only zombie here. He did not care how bad it got, because he would keep rising. Dawon charged forward once more, desperately trying to land a solid blow. But when his fist connected with the tank's stomach, it barely tickled him. The weak punch did absolutely nothing. Ilseok just stared down with pure contempt. He scoffed, pointing out how much Dawon resembled his useless father. Just like Ajin Ha, all of Dawon's desperate struggles were completely in vain. With a cold sneer, Ilseok smashed a devastating fist right into his jaw. The brutal strike ripped the bandage off Dawon's nose, drawing fresh blood. Left coughing and gasping for air, Dawon stumbled backward from the intense pain. But even with his face completely bloody and broken, he refused to quit. Suddenly, a warm memory of playing retro games with his father flashed by. It felt impossible to reach the end, making him wonder if it mattered. But his father had smiled, telling him to never count himself out. His father insisted there was always a way to conquer even the toughest boss. He asked the young boy if he was really going to throw it all away. That made young Dawon hesitate, firing up a deep desire to win. He kept trying until the giant monster finally crumbled, back in reality. Ilseok kept mocking his useless struggles, but Dawon simply refused to break. Just as the thug started laughing at him, a massive critical strike blasted him backward. The game system flashed a bright notification, confirming a massive critical blow. He takes the hit, staggered by Dawon Ha's terrifying, raw strength. The punk's eyes go wide. He desperately claws the dirt with both hands to stay upright. Dawon realizes that no matter how much Jo Ilseok boasts about never falling, he is still just a regular human, trembling in disbelief at this nerd's insane power. Jo Ilseok sneers, "Did you save everything you had for that one single strike?" Dragging himself up, the thug growls that it still was not enough to bring him down. He shouts that Dawon Ha stands absolutely no chance before driving a brutal fist straight into the boy's gut. Right then, wild blue sparks of magic lightning explode from Dawon Ha as he rejects the threat. He mutters that he learned this routine from a video game, leaving the thug utterly baffled. Dawon Ha suddenly lunges, gripping Jo Ilseok's face to slam him backward while declaring no enemy is invincible. Roaring at the top of his lungs, Dawon Ha recalls this skill has a hidden trick. His mind drifts to a childhood memory sparked by the loud blare of a television. The young Dawon Ha was gasping for air, exhausted but completely thrilled. He had finally crushed the ultimate final boss and rescued the virtual princess. His father, Hao-jin, walked back into the room to see his boy celebrating. Slayed him, the 10-year-old cleared the impossible level. Dawon Ha bragged it was easy. Now that same gaming strategy guides his real-world fists. He mirrors the game to crush the high school thug. Back then, he beat the dark demon with a brutal, stunning charge that drove its head into the floor. Now he triggers that very skill in real life, driving Jo Ilseok's skull down. It functions as a highly upgraded, lethal variation of his basic stun attack. The passive skill triggers only on grounded opponents, and the plan works. Down he goes, and man, that has got to hurt. Pure agony twists Jo Ilseok's face, in a quiet flash of the past. His father, Hao-jin, smiled and praised him for doing something incredible. He told his young boy to never forget this victory over the demon. It took hundreds of failed attempts, but he never quit. His father promised him that no matter what challenges he faced, deep effort would always pay off. No true struggle is ever wasted, back in the harsh reality of the present. Quiet, Dawon Ha gasps for air, praying it's finally over. An alert blinks to confirm his triumph. The elite monster Jo Ilseok has been defeated. Completely drained from his most brutal clash yet, his limbs refuse to move. Meanwhile, a mysterious masked figure watches quietly from outside the royal castle. Young Sik-young, a high-ranking representative of Bongchin, arrives on the scene. He asks his men if Dawon Ha really raided this place completely alone. His cocky subordinate laughs, bragging that Sik-young is far stronger than Dawon Ha. Sik-young scoffs that not even the mighty Han Unsung could challenge him, climbing. Kang Soo-hoon raining down a vicious, non-stop storm of heavy strikes. Yet despite the bloody beating, Kang Soo-hoon suddenly snatches the smug subordinate, G. "Shut up," he snaps, growling that the guy talks way too much. Squeezing with terrifying strength, Kang Soo-hoon invites all their leaders to try him. Spitting blood, he flashes a psychotic grin and swears to slaughter every last one. Choking and desperate for air, G is on the very brink of blacking out. He weakly curses at Kang Soo-hoon, completely powerless to break the iron grip. He faints, but not before muttering about playing dirty. Soo-hoon remarks that the guy should dress properly before talking like that. A bit later, Dawon is seen climbing up the massive stairwell. No guards in sight, he just needs to reach the top. He realizes that his only objective now is to reach the rooftop. The eerie silence of the place makes him think Soo-hoon already won. But as he reaches the top, Dawon freezes in pure shock. Soo-hoon is knocked out against a pillar, and Jae-beek is standing there. His knuckles are covered in blood from the brutal beating he gave Soo-hoon. With a maniacal laugh, Jae-beek screams that he loves when fools drop their guard. He mockingly asks if they honestly thought a simple chokehold could stop him. Raising his foot to crush Suhoon's face, the psychopath sneers in absolute rage. He yells that Suhoon should have finished the job when he had the chance. But right before the stomp lands, Dawon rushes in and shoves him back. "Get up, you are tough," he screams at his battered friend. Weakly, Suhoon gasps for Dawon to run while he buys time. Jae-beek just scoffs at them, calling their little friendship completely pathetic. Laughing at Dawon, he asks if he really thought defeating Ilsik was the end. Then comes the twist: Jae-beek is the true final boss. Dawon is completely stunned, realizing this monster is the actual boss of the dungeon. To make matters worse, Jae-beek is standing there in absolutely flawless condition. And honestly, things look completely hopeless as the boss taunts a weakened Dawon. With Suhoon unconscious, Dawon knows he cannot lose here. Running is absolutely impossible now. He has to stand and fight. Suddenly, Jae-beek lunges forward, throwing a massive punch right at his face. He screams that he will destroy everyone from Boromai, but a voice interrupts. A new figure suddenly appears, demanding to know what the hell is happening. It is the 18-year-old leader, Youngsup, and he looks furious. Jae-beek freezes. Terrified, he stammers to ask why his boss is here. Dawon watches in silence, wondering who could terrify the ruthless Jae-beek. He cannot figure anything out about the newcomer, except that he is extremely short. Jae-beek quickly tries to make excuses, claiming they were under attack. He lies, saying the Boromai gang invaded their turf first, but Youngsup glares. His icy look refutes the lie, reminding him that they started this fight. Terrified, Jae-beek instantly shuts up and nods. Then, the boss demands to know if they also stole money. Sweating under that gaze, Jae-beek confesses. Jae-beek nods nervously, then in a flash the boss vanishes. He declares Jae-beek made a mistake, instantly reappearing in midair. He unleashes a devastating kick directly into Jae-beek's face. The impact is unreal. Teeth and blood spray everywhere as the thug is sent flying backwards, slamming hard. He crashes hard against the wall. Dawon stands there, utterly speechless. Did this guy really just one-shot the dungeon's final boss? But his shock turns to dread as the terrifying leader turns to face him. Dawon realizes he is in extreme danger. The short man steps forward. But before he can strike, Yunsung appears on the stairs and commands him to stop. Is shocked to see him there, Han casually mocks the short guy's weak. Threatening words saying they are not even funny. When Dawon asks why, Young asks if he is actually clueless. Young explains he was the one who invited Han over, even sharing the exact location. This revelation instantly sparks Dawon's memory, making him remember that school day when he invited Han Yunsong to the dungeon. He tried hard to convince the strong leader of Xiaoyongdong to help, but Han rejected him instantly. Dawon is stunned that Han actually remembered the dress and showed up. Han Yunsong then asks what Dawon wants, but the loud little man interrupts, demanding to know if they forgot about the school invasion. Threatening Han, Young claims that without that chaotic invasion, he would have handled this himself. He warns them not to mess with his crew ever again, and Dawon finds him incredibly intimidating. In response, Han, the leader of Xiaoyongdong, simply walks right past the angry delinquent without saying a word. Young tells Yunsong to stay safe, and the buff leader thanks him for the kindness. Meanwhile, Dawon is still deeply shocked by the brutal state Jae-beek was left in, wondering if this insane conflict has finally reached its end. Later, while carrying the massive Kang Saehun, Dawon complains that the buff guy is way too heavy. Proud as ever, Kang insists he can walk and then asks what happened with Han Yunsong. Dawon replies that Han seems to be an ally rather than a real friend. Kang disagrees, arguing that Han would never get close to Dawon for nothing. Something feels totally off. About this, he suspects Han is taking advantage of his position as a district representative, which Dawon quickly acknowledges, changing the subject. Dawon declares that, as promised, Saehun is now the official representative of Boromdong. This news completely shocks the delinquent, and his eyes widen as he remembers everything that went down during the mission. Kang tells Dawon he shouldn't hand over his power so easily, especially since they are dealing with the dangerous guys from Bonchendong. Fired up, Saehun vows to earn that top spot next time. He then says goodbye, telling Dawon to stay alive, leaving him suspicious of his tone. Soon, the system notifies him that the Royal Castle dungeon is cleared, and it begins calculating his exact contribution to determine his final reward, with a big smile on his face. Dawon waits for his massive payout, but get ready for this. Since he did not help defeat the final boss, his reward gets reduced. Dawon gets it. Defeating the boss is the absolute main event of any raid. Losing the bonus makes sense. Still, his final prize for clearing the dungeon is 12 bronze keys. That is actually a huge haul. He leaves happy and excited, already planning which attributes to level up with his new keys. The next morning, Dawon is looking incredibly sharp in a suit. He comments on the lovely weather, feeling happy that the fresh spring season has finally arrived. Standing right in front of a quiet mausoleum, he notes, "This beautiful day would be perfect if not for this heavy occasion." He steps inside to see a photo of his father surrounded by flowers. Dawon stares down at a framed photograph, whispering quietly as his mind starts to drift. He remembers the tragic day his father died in a horrific brake-failure car accident. His father had swerved sharply to avoid a pedestrian on the road. Unable to stop, the car slammed directly into a concrete streetlight. Dawon vividly recalls the doctor telling his mother there was no hope left. The little boy wept bitterly as they were told to prepare for the worst. Yet standing right there at his father's grave in the present, he stays silent. No tears fall, but looking at the fresh flowers beside the framed photo, Dawon wonders who could have visited before him. Suddenly, a voice echoes from the shadows. The speaker says his father was a truly noble man who sacrificed his life for another. Dawon immediately recognizes the stranger stepping out of the dim, quiet mausoleum. The newcomer drops a bomb, suggesting the crash was never a simple accident. Han Yunseong suggests it was a calculated murder and the killer is still out there. Han Yunseong thinks the culprit is someone very close, asking Dawon how he would react. Completely shocked, Dawon demands to know what kind of nonsense he is spitting. He presses Han Yunseong, demanding to know his business here and his connection to the father. Han Yunseong stays silent, his thoughts wandering back to a time long ago. In his childhood memory, a kind man named Ha Jinho had approached him. Finding him in a park, the man had gently scolded the boy with a smile. He warned young Han Yunseong that drinking too much sugary soda was bad. Instead, the man handed him a sweet, cold strawberry juice box. Suspicious of the stranger, little Han questioned why he was even there. The man claimed he was patrolling to keep kids from smoking in the quiet park. With a grin, he proudly revealed his real job as a bully hunter. Little Han had laughed, calling him unemployed, which the man warmly denied. Back in the present, the formal representative of CL Young Dong steps up. He snaps that none of these old stories matter in this critical moment. But Dawon cuts him off, completely lost in his own mounting confusion. He mutters that his father was targeted, unable to process the murder claim. He tries to convince himself Han Yunseong would not make up such a lie. Even though the police ruled it an accident, Han Yunseong says otherwise. He claims to hold key evidence that the authorities completely missed back then. We flash back to the previous night, where Han was talking to a contact. He was asking his companion if they should break the news to Dawon. The dwarf Yungseok confirmed that Dawon was indeed the son of Ha Jinho. The man was once legendary, known as the ultimate shelter from the sun. Yungseok questions why Han Yunseong hangs around this seemingly weak, nerdy gamer. Suddenly, Yungseok slams his cup down hard on the table. He says he found something crazy and slides his phone over. The shock of what Han Yunseong saw nearly made his heart stop. Back in the present, Han Yunseong explains the disturbing footage he witnessed. It was a security video showing the exact moment Ha Jinho died 3 years ago. The very same footage they uncovered when they breached the building together. The representative of CL Youngdong tells Dawon that the truth is his. Believing it or walking away is a choice he must make completely on his own. In the silent room, Dawon stared at a framed photograph, his eyes locked on his father's smiling face with a quiet sadness. Later on, he returned home and took a shower, looking out at the heavy rain outside. The falling spring rain made him reflect on Han Yunseong's words. He replayed the claim that Jung Suk-young had a video with real proof from the crime scene 3 years ago. Dawon found the information impossible to believe, clutching his towel tightly as he struggled to accept it could be true. Meanwhile, Han Yunseong was also watching the rain from the window of his high-rise apartment. He pulled his phone out and saw several messages from Dawon. In those texts, Dawon mentioned the representative of Bongshin, and asked for the current whereabouts of Jung Suk-young. Elsewhere on that same rainy day, a subordinate held an umbrella for Jung Suk-young, who asked if the rain was letting up. After his subordinate confirmed that it was, Jung Suk-young noticed something strange on the street that caught his eye. He was shocked to see Dawon standing in the middle of the downpour with a serious look. Talk about intense. Knowing this was no coincidence, Jung Suk-young asked why he was there, and Dawon immediately demanded to know about the evidence. In response, the gang leader pulled a flash drive from his pocket, asking if this was what Dawon was searching for. However, Jung Suk-young frowned, stating he had no intention of simply handing the evidence over. He challenged Dawon, telling him that if he could take it right out of his hands, it would be his. Unhesitatingly, Dawon used his skills to abruptly snatch the flash drive from Jung Suk-young's grasp, but before he could land a solid hit, Jung Suk-young's subordinate intervened, throwing Dawon a massive distance away. Dawon manages to plant his hands on the ground, slowing his momentum to a stop. With heavy steps, the bodyguard stands before him like a wall, warning that acting this way in someone else's territory is going to be a problem. He immediately prepares to throw powerful punch at Dawon. Before the hit can land, Dawon remembers the 12 bronze keys he earned from the mission and decides to spend them on his attributes. Wondering which stats would be most effective, he unlocks his magic stats, increasing them by 112 times total. This upgrade boosts his mana points from 400 to 1600. With his newfound power, he uses the blind spot technique to evade the punch, landing one squarely on the enemy's face. Right after that, he charges another punch, his fist now surrounded by intense energy, unleashing his multiple strike destruction to deliver a flurry of blows to the bodyguard, furious at being beaten by a gamer nerd. Jung's bodyguard is caught off guard when Dawon abruptly grabs his face and slams him into the ground, activating the stunning fall technique. At the moment of impact, relieved to have taken down the giant, Dawon turns and stares seriously at Jung Suk-young. The Bongshin leader declares that he made it clear last time that no one should mess with his men, stating that Dawon made a mistake. Jung jumps into the air, attempting a flying kick with extreme speed to launch his attack, but suddenly he realizes his target has completely vanished and his kick hits nothing but air. Looking up, he looks up to see Dawon Ha dropping from above, ready to unleash a massive kick. Dawon triggers his falcon drop, slamming a heavy kick directly into Jung Suk-young. He hits with full force, a strike so heavy it ripples a nearby puddle. Yet Jung Suk-young blocks the impact with his arm as smoke starts rising. Staring directly at our hero, he boasts that a single strike cannot bring him down. That is when Dawon realizes this battle is unlike anything he has faced before. To win, he must activate his keys and release his full mana reserves. He needs to unleash every single skill in his arsenal to stand a chance. If he can spam his abilities without limits, he knows victory is still possible. Dawon quickly launches another attack, leaping high into the air toward Jung Suk-young. He drops down again, but Jung Suk-young openly mocks the repeated move. He asks if Dawon honestly expected the exact same kick to work twice. He easily dodges, calling the pattern predictable, and winds up a counter punch. But a sudden double flying kick catches him completely off guard mid-strike. Even with the surprise angle, Jung Suk-young blocks the impact with his forearm. Dawon immediately sees the issue. This opponent is on another level entirely. He will not fall easily. As the enemy swings, things are about to get wild. Our hero knows he has to give everything until he decodes Jung Suk-young's style. He quickly counters, executing a clean shoulder throw to slam the opponent down. Just as Jung Suk-young is about to crash, Dawon makes his move. He unleashes his stunning strike to end this, but the result shocks him. Jung Suk-young recovers midair, standing tall without ever touching the ground. Glancing back at Dawon, Jung Suk-young notes that this is actually quite fun. Terrified to see him still standing, Dawon instinctively takes a step back. Jung Suk-young remarks that Dawon has some incredibly unique movements. But then he coldly states that his mind is already made up. Charging forward, he declares he will end this in exactly 2 more strikes. He challenges Dawon to show him everything before his time runs out. Jung Suk-young blitzes forward with such blinding speed that our hero cannot even react. The single hit is so devastating that Dawon health drops from 1500 to just 200, nearly knocking him out cold. talk about massive boss damage. Young Suk Young looks down, criticizing his weak defense compared to his offense. Dawon realizes the harsh truth. This monster is just too strong to defeat. When Young Suk Young sighs and admits he expected more, frustration sets in. Dawon despair turns to pure rage as he tightly clenches his fist. Desperate, he targets Young Suk Young's foot using his blind spot technique. Grabbing his leg, the enemy mocks him, asking if this is just a sad trip attempt. Dawon simply grins and confirms it. He is absolutely trying to trip him. Since the ground is wet, he pours all his remaining strength into the move. Utilizing the puddle perfectly, he brings the Bongshan representative crashing down hard. As Young Suk Young lands headfirst, Dawon seizes his chance. He winds up a massive punch, screaming that the arrogant fighter is eating dirt today. With his opponent grounded, Dawon activates his devastating multi-punch ability. He chains the attack instantly to create a combo, then unleashes it a third time, hammering down with a relentless barrage of hits as sweat flies everywhere. His body shakes violently from the sheer effort. Completely exhausted, Dawon exhales. Utterly drained from the assault, he gasps. Then horror strikes. His opponent does not look even slightly hurt. Is he done attacking? Youngseok sneers. Dawon seems totally lost, so the boss offers some grim advice. Look down at your own hand. It is completely ruined and covered in blood. A total bloody, jelly-like mess. Youngseok scoffs at the weak sight. Honestly, he expected more. Dawon has absolutely nothing left to show. With a cruel smile, the boss tells the kid to take the flash drive. Confused but hopeful, Dawon reaches out his trembling hand for the drive. But it is a dirty trick, a total feint to throw him off. Youngseok strikes, sending him flying with a devastating punch. Dawon crashes hard into some wooden crates across the room. The boss stands over him, holding up the drive with the key evidence. He never had any intention of handing it over to him, none at all. As Dawon lies broken, Youngseok coldly calls it the second strike. If the kid still wants the drive, he can visit him again. But next time, the boss promises a far worse beating. He will completely eliminate Dawon next time, absolutely no mercy. On the verge of passing out, the boy hears one last insult. Boring, Youngseok expected a much better fight than this garbage. With that, the arrogant representative simply turns and walks away. Soon, cold rain begins to fall, hitting his unconscious face. Suddenly, Dawon's eyes snap wide open. He painfully crawls up. Standing in the downpour, he is in complete disbelief. Did he really just lose to a thug like Youngseok? His mind flashes back to the evidence of his father's murder. Then to the moment he got cruelly tricked with false hope. Overwhelmed with grief, the boy desperately wraps his arms around himself. He curls up tightly in a fetal position on the wet ground. Crying in the mud, Dawon feels utterly terrified and apologizes to his dad. Fear consumes him. If he faces that monster again, he has no chance. What is he supposed to do now as the freezing rain falls? The storm reminds him of the spring night his father passed away. It was a rainy spring night, just like this very one. And check this out, a new system mission suddenly activates. Before understanding his own weakness, a new system message pops up. Looking at the mission rewards, he realizes he can get much stronger. The screen asks if he wants to accept this lucrative quest. Driven by a burning desire for power, he accepts the mission. Immediately, a massive surge of strength floods his entire broken body. His thoughts then drift back to the famous Sun Shelter Institute. His late father, Oh Jinha, was the representative of this charity. Everyone praised the man, but Dawon felt different. He never felt the same attachment to his father as others did. In a flashback from years ago, a sleepy young Dawon asks if it was late at night when Oh Jinha prepared to head out, noticing his son was awake. He explained he had mountains of work left. Dawon suddenly remembered a shelter boy named Park Young-soo, who always snuck off to smoke during class breaks. His father said he already tried talking to him, but habits are hard to break. Quitting is never easy, but Dawon pushed back, revealing that Park Young-soo was also stealing from others, even buying a motorcycle with stolen shelter cash. Hearing this, his father slumped, blaming himself entirely for failing the boy. Young Dawon then asked if he truly believed these punks would ever change. He cynically questioned if his father was just chasing donation money all along. Oh Jinha walked out in total silence, leaving those harsh words hanging. Years later, Dawon finally realizes how unfairly he had judged his father's kindness. His dad had invited him to go camping that weekend, a rare offer. He instantly turned it down, never imagining it was his final chance. Overwhelmed by sudden grief and lingering regret from that memory, Dawon screams out. He bolts awake in bed, drenched in sweat from the nightmare. Gasping for air, Seok Hyen's smug voice echoes in his mind once again. That taunting invitation to drop by any time makes his blood absolutely boil. He was sure Seok Hyen was incredibly strong, only collapsing due to the storm. But then a darker thought creeps in about that fatal car crash. Was his dad's death 3 years ago actually a carefully planned hit? It made no sense why Seok Hyen from Bongcheng held that crucial flash drive. He first suspected the guy was directly involved in the tragic accident. After all, he refused to just hand over the drive with the evidence. Still, something did not add up. Han said Seok Hyen was someone close. Yet, Dawon had never laid eyes on the guy before their encounter. He realized if Seok Hyen were truly behind it, he wouldn't offer that evidence. Putting it up as a prize for their fight seemed far too bold. The swirling questions only irritated him, so he made a firm decision. He would grab that evidence himself the second he crushed Seok Hyen. First, though, he had to clear a system quest requiring a 5-stage physical training routine. Clearing this absolute grind would grant him massive stat points and insane strength. He swore he would snatch those files from Seok Hyen very soon. He did not care how absurd the system's requirements got. He would conquer them all. His first task: walk to school while imitating the creepy spider crawl from the movie The Exorcist. Talk about bizarre. Crawling upside down towards the entrance, he immediately catches the eyes of 2 mocking girls. He is absolutely dying inside, but his focus remains completely locked. Gyms are too slow. This crazy method is his only shot at quick growth. Shrugging off the intense shame, he will do whatever it takes to level up. He charges forward in a full backward crawl, absolutely terrifying the schoolgirls. Task 2 forces him into a brutal, endless wall sit with no chair in sight. He somehow survives. Next up, he must catch a wild pigeon barehanded. After a chaotic chase and immense struggle, he miraculously grabs the bird. Mission 4 has him hanging upside down beneath a playground slide like a bat. Finally, the last trial demands a hardcore gymnastic ring exercise, pushing him to the limit. Despite the brutal grind, he refused to yield. A week passed, leaving him completely drained. Our tired hero apologized to his father. With a measly 2% progress, the task felt completely impossible. While hanging out at a park late one afternoon, a sudden realization hit him. He came to the conclusion that Young Seok's evidence might actually be fake, since it appeared completely out of nowhere. The thought that Ian Sung was lying to him felt much more believable, which pushed him to wrap up this mission fast. He was even considering quitting the ring quest altogether when a sudden voice interrupted his thoughts, asking what he was mumbling. Dawon recognized Kang Sung-hoon and asked what he was doing around, and the punk simply shrugged, saying this was his own neighborhood. He then asked why Dawon was clinging to the playground slide, which Dawon explained was for his training routine. That naturally led Sung-hoon to wonder why he was practicing here instead of a gym. Sung-hoon revealed it was because he had struggled with obesity back in school, too ashamed of his body to visit gyms. He used to train out here in the dark. For 2 straight years, he worked out without ever stopping, transforming his physical shape entirely. He admitted that during that first brutal year, even while getting stronger, all he thought about was quitting, a dark temptation Dawon understood all too well. Sung-hoon explained that he still comes here to train and remember those struggles. This made Dawon compare himself to Sung-hoon, remembering how he used to get beaten up. Back in school, he had tried to learn sports, begging his mother to sign him up for Taekwondo, but his resolve never lasted very long because he always quit to play video games instead, whenever he got beaten up. Again, he would beg his mother for another sport, yet his younger self always gave up way too easily, running back to gaming because the training felt too hard. Back in the present, Sung-hoon asks if Dawon will quit again, pointing out that our protagonist was right in the middle of training just moments ago. Staring at his goals, Dawon feels deeply reflective. He finds true inspiration in folks who never quit. He gets motivated. Apologizing silently to his father for being weak, he prepares to try again. Dawon grips the playground slide once more, clenching his teeth with all his remaining strength, determined not to quit and to push through to the end. As Dawon hangs from the slide, shouting from the immense strain, while Sung-hoon tells him to shut up. 2 months quickly fly by. In his office, Young Si-hyuk hears a visitor arrive, muttering that he thought they had already quit. He looks directly at Dawon Ha as the young man steps inside. Clutching the flash drive, Si-hyuk claims he knows exactly why Dawon wants it so badly, reminding him of his earlier warning and promising he wasn't joking about beating Dawon into absolute dust, shutting the heavy office door behind him. Our hero tells Si-hyuk to bring it on. Dawon boldly claims that things are entirely different now since his stats are massive, having even reached level 100. But before this clash starts, we flash back to 2 months earlier. Dripping with sweat, Dawon pants that he finally managed to pull it off. He actually caught a pigeon barehanded, completing part of his crazy quest, though it was exhausting, even if these pigeons feared absolutely nothing. It was an exhausting mission, especially since these pigeons had zero fear of people. It was still incredibly hard to grab one by hand, but he refused to give up this time. He decided to tackle the next task by hanging from the bottom of a playground slide. His progress shot up. At that point, the training was barely moving along. The physical training progress stood at only 9%. Next, he had to sit in an invisible chair during his classes. Holding that pose, he soon made steady gains. He hit 21% progress. Then, he took on the ring task on its hardest difficulty. This boosted his percentage even more. He knew he could finish this quickly. He pushed himself to the absolute limit and soon reached the halfway mark. Completely wiped out, he finally finished the entire training by completing the slide task. Dawon celebrates completing this insane body enhancement regimen. He met every single harsh requirement. After all that hard work, he receives a general increase across all his attributes, right before his eyes. Dawon watches his stats tick up one by one, but even with these boosts. But Dawon does not feel any different, wondering if anything actually changed. To test his new physical power, he needs a real-world trial. His main focus remains unchanged, uncovering the truth behind his father's sudden death. Jang Seok-kyung mocks him, laughing that Dawon has no idea what he is up against. He mocks what Dawon has been doing for the past 2 months, questioning his chances. When Dawon stays silent, Jang Seok-kyung assumes the kid is just frozen in fear. He thinks the quiet kid is acting reckless out of grief for his late father. The bully leaps over a desk, shouting that if Dawon wants to die so badly, sending him straight to join his father, Oh Jin-ha, he fires a kick, aiming right at Dawon. But wait, our hero has other plans before this fight even starts. Dawon easily blocks the heavy blow, calmly saying he just wants to ask a question. He asks where Jang Seok-kyung got the evidence. Stunned by the block, Jang backs off. Realizing he was almost countered, this fight just got a lot more interesting. Charging forward again, the delinquent demands to know why he should say anything. He yells, demanding to know why he should ever tell Dawon a single thing. A fast, powerful punch is thrown straight at Dawon's face, but our hero catches it. Catching the fist easily, he calmly tells Jang Seok-kyung that he does not need to answer just yet, promising in a chilling tone that he will make him talk, forcing him to hand over both the evidence and the truth. This sudden pressure shocks Jang Seok-kyung, sparking a memory of his talk with Han Yun-sung. In the flashback, Jang Seok-kyung shows him a video, asking if this is the culprit. Once Han Yun-sung confirms the identity, the delinquent plans to use this footage. While he wants to exploit the video, Han Yun-sung suggests a different path. Han suggests they should simply hand the video over to Dawon directly. Jang Seok-kyung dismisses it immediately, claiming he has absolutely no connection to Dawon. He has zero interest in helping out. He tells Han Yun-sung to do it himself. If he cares so much, he can go tell Dawon they found the guy. Han argues back, explaining that without seeing the actual proof, Dawon will never believe it. The boy insists that even knowing the truth, Dawon would stay completely obsessed. Obsession over the video proof would consume him, so Jang Seok-kyung kept it. Waiting was his plan, knowing Dawon would eventually have to come begging. Confidence made him believe the kid could never take the flash drive from him. Right now, seeing this supposedly weak kid block his punch without even trying, Jang is completely stunned. What is happening? Is this the same weakling? It seems completely impossible. No one should be able to change this much in 2 months. Yet Dawon casually deflects another punch, easily blocking a fast combination. The delinquent can only assume his opponent has gotten physically stronger. The Bang Jin representative taunts him, asking how long he can last. Deep down, he is starting to realize just how tough Dawon has become. A quick look at his defense stat shows a massive 200-point increase. Seok Kyung tries a heavy kick, but Dawon simply ducks. Irritated, Jong yells out to create a sudden distraction. He goes for a brutal stomp, but Dawon swiftly dodges again. The kick smashes empty concrete. That is when Jong notices something strange. This gamer had an opening but passed. A system screen flashes. Agility is up by 200 points. Jong laughs nervously, suddenly remembering an old conversation with Han Yiyang. While drinking with Han Yiyang, Jong mentioned the rumors. Scoffing at the idea, he ignored the rumors of Dawon being active. He figured Dawon was only fighting weak opponents and asked if Seong agreed. Han had agreed that there was absolutely no real competition between them. But Han had quickly added that this was only for now. That strange warning had left the Bangshan delinquent feeling incredibly confused. Han could not explain it, but insisted Dawon was someone special. Back in the present, Jong Suk Kyung wonders if this is that power. His gut feeling was correct. This kid is totally abnormal. These movements are downright unreal. Jong completely loses his cool. With a crazed expression, he demands to know what is happening. This makes zero sense, but Dawon notices his sudden shift. The enemy charges forward, throwing a wild punch at him. He winds up a massive fist, screaming for Dawon to go join his dead father. Enraged by the cheap shot, Dawon counters with a sharp punch. The fist smashes his chin, sending red spray flying from his mouth. Dawon looks down coldly, noting that Jong seems to be having fun. Still furious, he immediately prepares to land another devastating strike. Taking advantage of his dazed enemy, he follows up with a punch. The blow slams Jong down. Dawon stares with cold eyes. He calmly tells the bully that there will be absolutely no more laughing ever again. Despite the beating, Jong just cackles, claiming his expectations were exceeded. He maniacally screams that he can finally take a fight seriously. Meanwhile, from a nearby rooftop, Jai Bikayan watches the entire clash. A subordinate runs up, quickly calling out to his boss. He reports that the security alarms are still sending out alerts. Bikayan asks if Seokhyun is inside, but the alarms keep ringing. When he asks what the signal from Jong's office is reporting, the lackey checks his device, replying that they detected massive noise. Right then, back inside the office, Jong Seokhyun kicks the wall hard. That triggers the alarm as he tries to kick Dawon, who easily ducks to dodge. Jong Seok cannot believe how much his opponent has transformed in just 2 short months. He unleashes a relentless high-speed flurry of strikes, but to his disbelief, Dawon blocks every single one, just as Jong Seok tries to speak. And ask about what happened during that time, Dawon backs into a couch, causing him to stumble. As Dawon falls, Jong Seok readies a strike, taunting that his opponent gained 0 real experience, but Dawon uses the momentum of his fall to drive a powerful kick right into Jong Seok's face, canceling the strike. He quickly leaps onto another couch to recover his footing and regain the upper hand. Relieved the wild maneuver worked, Dawon knows just how dangerous that brief clash was. Jong Seok rushes back in, charging a heavy punch while shouting that the kid's last move was actually pretty decent. This time his massive blow connects, sending Dawon crashing back into the wall, but Dawon quickly recovers his balance on the floor and asks if Jong Seok was always such a big talker. Jong Seok replies that finally getting to fight seriously has him extremely hyped. Dawon finds it weird, noting it is the first time he has heard something like that from a guy who is actively trying to punch him. Right after, Dawon lands a clean punch, but as Jong Seok falls, he counters with a quick kick of his own. This time, Dawon does not dodge and takes the strike directly to his face. The sharp pain makes him lose focus for a split second. And Jong Seok exploits the opening to land a heavy punch straight to his ribs. Dawon realizes his enemy is faster than expected as Jong Seok begins unleashing a rapid stream of back-to-back attacks. Dawon wonders if Jong Seok has been holding back all along, while Jong Seok bellows that Dawon will never get his hands on the flash drive. But Dawon is not playing around anymore, easily blocking Jong Seok's brutal knee strike with minimal effort. Then, landing a heavy counterpunch right to Jong Seok's face, Dawon announces he will take that flash drive by pure force. Even mid-battle, Dawon finds himself staying completely calm and thinking with total clarity. He suspects this is the Effect of his upgraded spirit stat, which jumped from 1 to 201. With this clarity, he charges toward the representative, demanding he hand over the item. His analysis of the fight is complete, and he is confident he can end it now as he lands several heavy blows. Jang-seok, in turn, realizes that Dawon has been hiding his massive strength until this very moment. Dawon declares that any further fighting is a waste of time and unleashes another flurry of attacks. However, the leader of Bangshandong dodges the assault and asks if it is really a waste of time. He then lands a devastating, heavy punch directly to Dawon's face, roaring that they are only just getting started, putting all his strength into resisting the force. Dawon flatly denies Jang-seok's claim. He reiterates that this fight ends right here, and as he charges up his power, his arm grows to an absolutely massive size. He delivers a colossal punch directly to his enemy's gut, causing Jang-seok to scream out in agony. Crackling blue lightning erupts from Dawon's fist, signaling that he has scored a critical hit. The sheer force of the blow sends his opponent flying backward, with trailing blue lightning marking his trajectory. From the impact, Jang-seok flies backward, crashing hard onto the floor, shattering the office furniture around him. Even Ha Dawon is impressed. He actually landed a critical hit. Ha Dawon wanted to ask where the evidence came from, but he quickly realizes he has completely overwhelmed Jang-seok. Realizing that does not matter right now, he simply grabs the flash drive from Jang-seok and leaves. Meanwhile, the Bangshan deputy worries when Jang-seok does not answer his phone. Anxious, he gathers some gang members and heads to Jang-seok's office. He orders one of his men to go check the office, and he immediately obeys. Down in the alleyway, the man spots a familiar white-haired face. It is Han Yoon-sung, sitting casually on the steps, apparently waiting for them, prompting the thug to yell for his boss, Jae-beek Chang. Finding the situation strange, he demands to know what Han Yoon-sung is doing there. Han Yoon-sung calmly replies he is stopping anyone trying to go up the stairs. Jae-beek Chang immediately suspects something is happening inside Jang-seok's office, concluding that is why the alarm was turned off. He thinks that his boss must be gone, explaining why Han Yoon-sung is just sitting there guarding the stairs. Jae-beek Chang then threatens him, saying that no matter what happens, the entire Boram Hwidong group is done for. He warns that he brought the whole Bangshandong gang with him. Staring back with cold eyes, Han Yoon-sung simply asks why Jae-beek Chang is there, calmly repeating that he is only here to block the path. In response, Jae-beek Chang snaps his fingers, confidently declaring he will find out who the intruder is after crushing him. Han Yoon-sung rises to his feet, telling Jae-beek Chang that he can try to pass, but he should be absolutely sure about that choice. Standing face to face with his opponent, Han Yoon-sung says in a low, threatening tone that he has to stop him. A quick flashback shows Ha Dawon expressing total surprise that Han Yoon-sung knew his father. Ha Dawon had sworn to recover the flash drive and defeat Jang-seok next time, believing it wouldn't take very long. He wanted to see the evidence himself before heading out. Ha Dawon called Han Yoon-sung, letting him know he was on his way to the Bangshandong gang headquarters. Back in the present, Han Yoon-sung gives the massive gang two choices: retreat now or attack. He then corrects himself, inviting the entire Bangshandong crew to come at him all at once, since he absolutely hates dragging things out. Jae-beek Chang begins to sweat nervously. He knows Han Yoon-sung is no ordinary fighter, but finds his words completely absurd, considering he brought 40 men. Losing to a single person seems totally impossible, but get this, he is still terrified. Jae-beek Chang cannot help but shake with fear, sensing a terrifying, intense bloodlust radiating from Han Yoon-sung. Suddenly, Ha Dawon comes down the stairs and finds this bizarre scene unfolding. Before he can even ask Han Yoon-sung what is happening, he notices the massive mob waiting out on the street. Stunned by their sheer numbers, Jae-beek Chang angrily demands to know what Ha Dawon is doing at their base. As tension rises, Yoon-sung whispers to Jae-beek that he absolutely hates stalling. Jae-beek snaps, his entire body trembling with pure, boiling rage. That is it. He orders his men to step back and clear a path. They let the two pass, and Jae-beek immediately storms off to see his boss. He swears those Boram Hwidong punks will pay for this soon. But the second he bursts into the office, he completely freezes because his boss is inside. Jang was there the whole time, sitting bleeding in his completely ruined office. Seeing the total destruction, Jai-beek asks what happened, and Jong blames Do-won. Jong tells him to shut up, claiming a little beating is not a big deal. In private, however, Jong secretly suspects that Do-won is hiding something big. He tells his men to clean up, vowing to expose the kid. Wiping strawberry jelly from his face, he wears an absolute, terrifyingly unhinged expression of madness. He wants answers. Meanwhile, they meet in a park. Sitting together on a quiet park bench, Do-won looks at his classmate and asks why he came. Instead of answering, Yun-sung hands him a flash drive to watch first. "We will talk later," Do-won plugs the drive in. Finally, the truth he has been chasing is right in his hands. He hits play, eager to finally learn his father's truth. The video starts and he immediately recognizes his father's signature black sedan on the screen. The clip is very short, but he spots a masked figure near the vehicle. Do-won watches in absolute, stunning horror as this masked stranger deliberately sabotages his father's vehicle. This is clear foul play. He instantly connects it to the crash. A cut brake line, that was the direct cause of the horrific accident. He cannot see the face, but the sabotage is completely undeniable now. He remembers Yun-sung saying the killer was someone close. Do-won looks straight at Yun-sung, asking if he already knows the culprit's true identity. Yun-sung tells him to look very closely at the man's outfit. At first glance, nothing looks out of place. But then he spots a distinct jacket from the sun's shelter. Just look at his face, absolute shock, as the painful realization finally hits him hard. He remembers his father proudly showing him that exact uniform design a long time ago. Back then, Do-won had laughed, calling the jacket incredibly ugly. His father, Oh Jin-ha, had looked incredibly disappointed by his son's cold, dismissive reaction. Do-won had argued that tough street kids would never wear that garbage. But Oh Jin-ha explained that the jacket was meant to make them feel welcome. He wanted the homeless kids at the shelter to feel accepted. A simple uniform could help them build trust and change. He believed that feeling welcome would help them trust each other and spark positive change. Despite the ugly design, he had smiled and asked if his son thought it was cool. The truth hits, the killer was a kid from the shelter. Yun-sung warns him not to jump to conclusions based on clothing. Still, he has to admit that the dark theory makes a terrifying amount of sense. Do-won clenches his fists tightly as a wave of bitter regret washes over him. He remembers his warning to his dad, delinquents never change. His father's sincere efforts to help those kids was the exact thing that killed him. Heavy thoughts weigh on our hero, making him lower his head in defeat, unsung. Warns that even if they discover who did this, there is no point. Going to the authorities, sure, a police investigation might happen, but they can never track the source, especially with how the evidence was delivered. Remember, Young Seok-hyun got that video anonymously, out of nowhere. Han asks if Do-won has any suspect in mind, but the young man shakingly admits he does not, ever since his father died the shelter. When under sealing off all potential leads from those dark days, just then a sudden realization strikes his mind. Do-won remembers that the old building still stands, it might hold clues. Grateful, Do-won thanks Han, admitting that this helpful conversation gave him the breakthrough he needed. And then asks what happens once they corner the monster responsible. Do-won thinks of his father. He makes a silent, blood-bound promise that while justice might take time, he will tear down the perpetrator. Then, looking up, he vows to make every single one of them pay. The next morning, a classmate casually mentions that exam week is here. Do-won instantly freezes. To make things worse, their teacher suddenly announces that the upcoming exam is loaded with brutal, high-level questions. He warns everyone to study. Hearing this, Do-won spirals into panic. He has not opened a book because of non-stop system missions. Noticing his distress, his close friend Jae-han asks what is wrong. Do-won admits that his prep is at zero, but Jae-han remains incredibly supportive. He offers a lifeline, inviting our desperate hero to study together after class. Once school lets out, a strange, quiet realization slowly washes over Do-won. He was so focused on battles, he ignored their growing bond. They share the same classroom and eat lunch together daily. It hits him that Jae-han is a true friend, leaving him deeply confused. Shaking off the confusion, Do-won asks where they are heading. Just then a sudden system notification rings in his ears. Jae-han asks why he froze. The new quest demands he protect Jae-han Yu during exams. Our hero wonders why the system would issue such a task. But he gets it immediately. Jae-han is in major danger. Meanwhile, in a nearby alley, a couple of local punks act trashy. One forcefully grabs a girl who is visibly shaking with absolute fear. Whispering sleazy comments, nearby, another girl asks a thug named Jae-min why he is distracted. He replies that a familiar face just passed by on the street. His eyes are locked onto Jae-han Yu, muttering that it is weird seeing the soft boy in this rundown area. He mentions they used to be close, back with their four-man crew in the streets. With a secret item reward on the line, the mission triggers. With only 4 days left until exams start, soon Dawon stands frozen before a massive, high-class mansion, asking if this is really Jae-han's place. Jae-han nods, smiling, and leads him inside. A beautiful woman greets them. Asking if Dawon is a school friend, our hero politely introduces himself, assuming she is Jae-han's mother, but she quickly corrects his hilarious mistake. A live-in maid, her sudden offer of fresh fruit leaves Dawon completely stunned. His friend has staff. He follows him up a winding spiral staircase. Heading up, Dawon admits he has only ever seen houses this grand in movies. They reach Jahan's bedroom. Once again, the absolute scale of the room blows him away. Just visiting this mansion makes him feel much closer to Jahan. At the same time, he wonders when he last visited a friend. Seriously, has anyone ever invited him over to their place recently? The kind maid mentions it has been ages since Jahan brought a friend home. She warmly tells them to just relax and call out if they end up needing anything. As she departs, Dawon realizes Jahan is always alone, except for that karaoke day. Right then, Jahan cuts through the silence, asking if they can start studying. Dawon eagerly agrees. Hours pass, and he warmly thanks his quiet host. He suggests they should keep studying together for the rest of the week. As they say their goodbyes, Dawon is honestly stunned by how incredibly fast the entire day flew by. With Jahan safe at home, Dawon figures nothing dangerous can possibly happen. He double-checks his quest screen to read the school mission one more time. Protect Jahan, the quest says, but a hidden detail suddenly appears. A secret item is mentioned. Why, when every single reward before was just keys? Dawon is sure a secret item must be a legendary tier drop, getting him excited. It has to be something pretty incredible. Soon, another full day slips by. Only 3 days remain before the exams begin. Jahan is totally shocked. Dawon has somehow solved every single practice question on the study sheet. Suddenly, Dawon faceplants straight onto the floor with his eyes rolled back. His brain is utterly fried. One more fact and his system crashes. One more formula and his system will crash. Jahan smiles warmly at him. The classmate suggests a quick break and guides him into a strange room. Dawon looks around in awe, asking what on earth this place actually is. Jahan claims it is just a gaming room, but the tech looks incredibly expensive. A massive wave of jealousy hits Dawon. Such high-end tech is insane. This gaming rig has always been his absolute dream. Now get ready for this. Jahan casually admits he does not even play games. It was just a gift. His wealthy parents bought the gear, along with his entire private second floor. This luxury makes Dawon feel pretty small. Their worlds are light years apart. They exist on completely different levels. Suddenly, his gaze shifts to the corner. A sleek white door catches his attention, and he asks what is behind it. Jahan smilingly claims it is just storage, so Dawon pretends to buy the lie.